All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We'll talk with Kent Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock. We'll hear from the Kansas City Chiefs around 11:45, 11:50 or so. Any chance, I mean, I guess there's always a chance. I shouldn't say any chance. Is there a concern? Let's go that route. Is there a concern of this being a trap game for the Chiefs? That they feel like they won the game pretty easily against the Broncos. They also feel like they didn't play well. They go out and play well against the Chargers, and they feel like, wow, we put a complete game together. All right, feeling good. And you're also making plans for Germany right around the corner after this game. So you're heading to Denver, then heading back to Kansas City. And I don't know how much time in between you'll have before you're then going to be heading to Germany and family travel and whatever else might be going on. A concern that this would be a trap game, that the game is going to be closer than originally thought, just because we think what the Chiefs did against the Broncos last weekend with not being able to put it in the end zone will be what they do against the Broncos on Sunday, but the end result will be different, that they will succeed in the red zone and this thing can get out of hand, whereas against the Broncos it could have been 24-0 at half.
They just played their game against their AFC West rival, who they respect in any way, shape, or form. The one that
I like that.
The one that some people have claimed ends the AFC West. The next week, as you said, you get ready and then eventually go to Germany to face off with maybe your number one contender in the AFC. Obviously, all of that fluctuates, but probably the best team in the AFC you're going to play this year, if you like the Ravens, or maybe the Bills Bengals come around, whatever. One of those real contending teams. Maybe your old teammate who has made a lot of headlines and made a huge impact. Maybe not. We'll see. That's up in the air. And the Broncos, for all of their toiling, did just beat a Packers team that we thought had some talent on that roster, had some questions, is well coached. They just came off a win against Green Bay, and they would love, obviously, nothing more than to end this streak. So why don't I feel anything? Why don't I? This is the perfect trap game.
Because you know what it's like to be a Bronco fan right now. You feel nothing.
16-0.
You're just numb.
I feel nothing. I feel like I am going to watch Russell Wilson go out there and play some uninspired football. That defense play some uninspired football. Sean Payton get angry at things that are and aren't within his control. And I really do think it is in part a testament to the Chiefs' leadership altogether. I mean, also you can bring in the fact that a receiver who's practicing and will probably play got arrested this week. Anything you want to use to make this look like a trap game, it's all right there. But I think the Chiefs coaches know that. I think Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce know that. And I am confident that Mahomes and Kelce know that if they lose to the bleeping Broncos and they end up losing this streak that has become a real living, breathing thing that's kind of fun to keep having around, and they lose to the Broncos before they get this matchup in Germany against Miami, it is going to be a miserable week and what should otherwise be kind of a fun one. I mean, I know they're not on vacation, but like this is a cool experience of your entire team taking a super road trip to a different country to play football in Germany at 8:30 a.m. Local time.
A super road trip.
A super road trip.
That's interesting.
That should be something that you look forward to and then that you can kind of lean into and enjoy. And if they lose to the Broncos, it is going to be the most businessy business trip you've ever taken to Germany. I mean, it is going to be locked down, get in, get out, and get home again. So this has every marking of a trap game, and I have none of the fear that comes with it. So maybe I'm part of the problem too. Hey, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
What is that from? I don't know.
People keep saying
it's weird. This is where a season that we're watching with the Chiefs that we had talked about that the Dolphins feel like the very flamboyant lawyer in the courtroom working over the jury, while the Chiefs are sort of like, this year, which is an interesting heel turn for them, that they're the ones that it just simply buttoned up. You approach the jury, you give your side, you object from time to time, professionally, present the evidence, and win your case, and move on to the next one. That's what it feels like the Chiefs are this year, where in the past they have been the flamboyant,
yes,
while losing some games that you're going, what in the hell? Just how did you lose that case when it was so lopsided in your favor? Well, I got a little cocky. I didn't show up. I just thought I would go out there and wing it and ended up losing that game. They don't have the yet. What in the hell happened in that game loss?
Yep.
This is one of the few remaining that would be a what in the hell happened in that game loss for the Chiefs.
They have this one, 2 Raiders games, and they play the Patriots. Everybody else, and the Packers, I guess, now.
Raiders at home.
Everybody else is a good football teams the rest of the way.
Yeah. So and typically that what in the hell happens in October.
It sure does.
Which this is the last game in October, and it's one of the last what in the hell happened. The different feel this year than in maybe years past is, again, this is just they just went out and took care of business. Just went out and took care of business. They were the better team and showed they were the better team. Was it as glitzy and glamorous? No. But because they were a complete team and are a complete team in offense, defense, special teams, because you go out there against a team and you're one-sided and that one side has an off day, well, then you might lose to a lesser team. The Chiefs have, against the Broncos, all 3 phases the better unit out there on the field at any one time. The offense versus the Broncos defense, the defense versus the Broncos offense, and the Chiefs special teams. All 3 are better. And when you have that, you can have an off game from time to time from a portion of the team. It would be hard to have a full team, offense, defense, special teams, to have an off game and lose to a team that is as inferior as the Broncos are. Whereas if you have an off game by one side of the football against the Dolphins, you can lose.
Yeah.
Eagles, you can lose. Bengals, Bills, you can lose. Difficult to see that in this one. When it's been so lopsided offense and then the defense is just okay. If you say, well, yeah, the offense goes out there, Mahomes struggles, he throws a couple of interceptions, well, yeah, next thing you know, the Broncos can score some points. This year doesn't have that feel. It feels so much more like a complete team, which gives you more confidence going into a game, which also sort of feels like you can just sort of gloss over. And we'll watch the game on Sunday for the fun of watching the Chiefs without the nervous energy and the butterflies that go along with big-time NFL football games that will be there when they go to Germany, and it'll be there Monday night against the Eagles and Buffalo and Cincinnati and on into the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it's a really good point to mention, like the levels that you have there. Where if your offense underperforms, well, you can lean on your defense. If your defense underperforms, you can lean on your offense. Even beyond that, think back to how we used to think about Chiefs Broncos games even 5 years ago. I was thinking, okay, well let's play this out and say, okay, so Mahomes has a bad turnover early on. Somebody muffs a punt or a kick return or something. Let's make it a punt. I'm sorry, Michael Hardman. But so, there's like a special teams turnover. There's an offensive turnover. The Broncos get really good field position and cash it in, so it's not really on the defense's hands, but they still get an early 7. What would the score have to be at halftime for you to be like sweating? If it's 13-0 at half and it's just been ugly.
21-3.
I think 3 possessions.
Yeah, like 20. And I still wouldn't be like, oh my God, they're going to lose this game.
Right.
It's going to be, they may lose this game. We'll see how they come out of half and watch this third quarter because they might go down and put 14 points on the board, and now it's 21-7. It's like, okay, yeah, now everything's going the right direction, and Denver might be, okay, here we go again. We're in our place. But yeah, 21-3 probably, which I can't imagine would happen.
If they're down by 17 or more points at any point, I will look at Dylan and I will say, Dylan, prepare yourself. This postgame's going to be weird today. And then I would not say prepare yourself because a losing Chiefs postgame is going to be weird. It would just, like, I know what's going to happen in a game like that. People are frustrated with the things that don't work. But it really would have to be multiple possessions at least to halftime before you would start saying, like, oh, you know what? Maybe the Chiefs just don't have it today. The other part of it is when the Chiefs don't have it at halftime, Bengals game notwithstanding, that is still a time when they have a chance to have the better coach, quarterback, defensive adjustments. The Chiefs can win coming out of the half when they need to. Oftentimes they come out of the half and then the third quarter feels like, it can be a tale of we needed points or we didn't need points, and then that's kind of what it ends up reflecting, it seems. I don't know if it's actually that simple, but everything here aligns so perfectly for this to be a game we should be more worried about. And I think it's a combination of the level of aptitude at every dimension of the Chiefs team and a level of confidence in the guys in charge. Because I just don't think Mahomes is going to sleepwalk through a Broncos game. I just don't think it's going to happen.
What's interesting about, we look at some of those what in the hell happened October losses. And even like September was Indianapolis last year. So it was late September. It was the last game of September. But you get the point. Sort of late September on into October where, they have a game where you're just like, that's a head scratcher.
But it's still warm in the fall.
Yeah,
that's
not sure what took place there. But looking through some of those, like let's see, the Colts game of 2019 that they lost 19-13. They were trailing at halftime 13-10. The Raiders game the next year, when they lost to the Raiders at home by 8 points.
The victory lap game.
Yeah. The only loss they suffered that year when they were trying to win the games in the regular season. They were tied at half 24-24.
There were 48 points in the first half.
Last year's Indianapolis Colts game, they were leading 14-10 over the Colts in a game in which they lost 20-17. So those random games, they haven't been down 21-3.
Yeah.
They haven't been down to where it's like this. Well, it's been what is more likely just a kind of lethargic game.
Yeah.
Where you just don't really feel like being there, and you got other things on your mind, or you have overlooked this team, or you're looking ahead to Germany, or something. You just beat the Chargers. You've got the Dolphins around the corner, a trip to Germany, and a Broncos team that maybe feels a little bit better about themselves because they just won a game last week, and you show up and sort of feel like you're going to, throw your helmets on the field and win the game. It's not you play such awful football that the inferior team takes a huge lead and you can't overcome that. What it's been, at least the Colts and oddly enough, Colts, have been sort of lethargic. Just sort of a game that you're just like, man, there was zero energy out there. That did not feel like a game where they wanted to be there and play football, and that's sort of odd. I don't know that you're going to get that this year with this team to the point that you end up losing that game. I don't know. I mean, could be wrong, right? I mean, it's why they play the game.
Yeah.
Right? Any given Sunday, you could certainly lose games. They lost to the Colts last year. They almost lost to the Texans last year. They lost to Jacoby Brissett and the Colts a few years ago in a season in which they won the Super Bowl, right? That was 2019 when they had that loss to the Colts. So they win the Super Bowl that year, and they lose to Jacoby Brissett. Like, there are some strange things that happen for the Chiefs during the regular season.
Even the lethargic fear, like if you think about, the times where you've done a show knowing you got to hop on a plane, like you got to be like, go leave straight from here to the airport to get it on the plane to go to Radio Row or whatever, right? Like you have to at least spend some time like that morning. Think, okay, like I'm show prepping this morning, but I also got to like luggage prep and I've got a family prep and I got to do all these things.
When am I leaving? When am I in there? Have I checked in? Oh wait, that was supposed to be yesterday.
I really should check in now. Oh God, all right, middle seat for me. Damn, like that. The number of things that get added on, even little stuff like that. Obviously, look, the Chiefs aren't having to check in for themselves or figure out how many bags of luggage they're allowed to take with them, or what needs to go in the overhead apartment. The NFL and the Chiefs are making a lot of that a lot easier than most of our international travel. That being said, you might still be trying to figure out like how much of your family's trying to get there to see that game, or is it just you going solo? Are you trying to lock it down? Hearing what the message from the Chiefs is will be interesting. I'm guessing Andy Reid probably gets asked about that tomorrow in a Fast Friday, looking ahead a little to like, hey, is it going to be we're leaving on Thursday business trip, or is it we're going to go get acclimated, whatever. But it is at least one thing that I know football coaches and football players hate. It is a break from the schedule. It is a drastically different week of your entire season. Mm-hmm. You got a bye week, which everyone enjoys, and you've got a fly to Germany and back week. That is different. That does break the routine. Wherever you're practicing, things will be different. And so if you've got any mental capacity on that, or you're just thinking like, okay, next week's going to be kind of a tough one. I've got to get through this game today and get Monday off and rest up some. I could see that all snowballing, and maybe this is mostly me just absolutely having no belief whatsoever in this Broncos team. Like that might also be it, which is kind of wild considering the fact that they at least have the head coach quarterback combination that even just ahead of this year we thought, all right, well maybe they're going to get like a little frisky, and maybe their defense got better against the Packers last week. That would be the biggest outcome for anything.
One of the other things that I do think, and we'll take a break, I do think the Chiefs defense is motivated and driven to place a goose egg on the board in a game this year. And I think they can look back to that Broncos game and say that was the one, because they had them. It was going to be like, 4th and 7 without the roughing the passer call.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a third down, roughing the passer call on an incomplete pass. Gave them the first down. So it would have been 4th down. They were clearly going to go for it. They were down 16-0. So Sean Payton wasn't going to kick a field goal to make sure that there's no. I wouldn't think he would kick a field goal.
I wondered about it. It would have been 3rd and 5 from the Chiefs' 22.
3rd and 5, yeah. But you're also at the 22. Like you're really going to on 4th and 5, you're going to kick a field goal instead of saying we're down 2 possessions right now.
It would have been outrageously cowardly. I think he would have done that.
You think he would have kicked the field goal?
Sorry, I think they would have gone for it.
No, I like the. It's outrageously cowardly. It's what he would have done.
It's what this coward would have done. No, I think they would have gone for it because it was a 2-possession game.
And maybe that zero's on the board, and they feel pretty good about we got a shutout. I don't know that's out there.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
I think every game they go in saying, let's go get a shutout. I mean, even against the Dolphins or whatever. But realistically, Dolphins and Eagles and things like that aren't
probably
realistic
score
shutouts.
Points. Yeah, probably.
This one. You can go get you one.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up the hour, we'll talk with Kent Swanson. Kansas City Chiefs conversation coming up with him. Get his thoughts on the complete team of the Chiefs with DVOA, that tweet that went out a couple of days ago from Aaron Schatz, formerly of Football Outsiders. And the Chiefs with a top 5 offense, defense, and special teams DVOA ranking. Number 4 in offense, number 5 in defense, number 2 in special teams, number 1 in your hearts, the Chiefs. So Ken Swanson will be our guest.
Number 1 in the AFC.
Oh, who's number 1 special teams?
No,
or
no,
who's
no,
number
no,
1 overall?
I'm saying the Chiefs are number 1 in the AFC and number 1 in your hearts.
I see.
I guess unless Kent Swanson's number 1 in your heart, and then the Chiefs be number 2 in your heart.
Like we said, Chiefs are number 1 in your hearts.
Certainly in mine.
But Ken Swanson will be the number 1 guest we have on coming up next.
At 11 o'clock today, this Thursday.
Specifically. We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. Coming up later on this hour, we'll hear from the Chiefs, Spags, Toe, Nagy, players, etc. We'll also play some sports or leisure later on in the show around 1 o'clock or so. Right now, let's talk to from KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Kirkland Swanson joins us here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kent, what's up, man? How are you?
I am currently doing this show from a Costco, so great of you to ask and mention my tagline there. So.
Yes, I figured as much. I only bring that up because Dylan, as the call screener here, says name Kent Swanson, comments Kirkland King. So that's straight from Dylan. So there you go. That's the only reason why I said that.
I got your back, Kent. I got it.
There you go.
Appreciate you.
Kent Swanson
that's my Christian name.
Kirkland Swanson. You go by Kent, though, because you were like Superman.
Exactly.
On the field. You were Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes. Because
all 3 plays, yeah.
Mainly because they ask you, can you start throwing left-handed? Because it doesn't seem like you're actually right-handed, Kent.
Yeah, that is unfortunately true. That's the story arc of Ken Swanson's football career right there.
You know what? It happens. Ken Swanson is our guest. Is there a concern at all for you? Like Josh and I spent the last segment sort of just talking about, obviously there's a mismatch in this game between the two teams, but there's just no feel whatsoever of nerves or concern or anything. But in a traditional sense, if we say trap game, we would say, well, they sort of dominated this team, even though the score didn't indicate how much better they were than the other team. They didn't score in the red zone. Then they faced off against a bigger, more competitive rival in the West, and they took care of business there. And they're getting ready to get on a plane to go to Germany and play the Dolphins. And in the middle, you head to Denver to play against the Broncos, where some strange things have happened almost every year the Chiefs have played in Denver with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little concerned, honestly, if I'm being real. And I think, I don't think the Broncos have played. I think they're a little bit better than a 2-5 team. I hate to say it. I think they've showed a pulse offensively, despite what the Chiefs did to them recently, and they're a little bit more competent than I kind of thought. But I think the thing that's more concerning to me is, like, what did Sean Payton hold back? What kind of stuff did he set up for this game? The Chiefs are obviously going to have some stuff that they set up for it. But, I mean, what kind of trends do the Broncos break in this game? I could see Sean Payton. Obviously, Sean Payton's trying to win every game, but he's probably more, intent to try to win the game in Denver. And they're going to have, I could see them throwing some stuff at the Chiefs a little bit. And I think that's where some of my concern comes from.
It's probably just a conceited and cocky nature of watching the Chiefs each and every week. But it does. I'll just ask this: does this team have a different feel to you of a better ability to get into a workmanlike approach and just simply take care of business, where the traditional late September / October game where you go, what in the hell happened and how did they lose that game? That maybe that isn't part of the story of the 2023 Chiefs, because maybe other teams couldn't as quickly or whatever it might be tap into the, hey, let's just go get the job done. That this may not be one where we're overly enthusiastic and excited about, but we get to go play football. Let's just go out there, work, punch in, slide down the dinosaur, punch out, go home, and enjoy the night.
Yeah, I think there could be a little bit of that. Like, they may not look passively, but they're going to just stay focused, locked in, and, like, kind of commit to the process. Like, I wonder how much last year's Colts game just rocked this organization a little bit. And specifically, like, I think Patrick Mahomes leading from the front, leading the way he does, I wouldn't be stunned if he pointing to that game, as a leader in the locker room saying, hey, we can't let what happened last year happen. So, like, I do think there might – honestly, it kind of feels like, I think one of the more workmanlike teams was the team that lost the Super Bowl to the Bucs. That regular season, they were just mowing over teams. And so, obviously things ended poorly there. But, yeah, it kind of feels like there's a little bit of that, and they've learned some of their lessons. And Mahomes, and some of these leaders that have been here know that they can't let up now. They've kind of learned that lesson a little bit.
I want to get into the Broncos game. We'll get a prediction from you at some point, and we'll get a little bit more into the Chiefs here. But part of the prediction that I'll ask you is, what's the crazy thing that happens in Denver on Sunday? Because it has really been remarkable that there has been something interesting or crazy that has happened every single year since Mahomes was drafted in Denver. 2017, his first game, and they win it. 2018, the left-handed pass. 2019, his kneecap was on the side of his leg. 2020 was the last kickoff return in Chiefs history now with Byron Pringle. 2021, Nick Bolton had the scoop and score. The huge, was it Melvin Ingram that caused the fumble, and then Nick Bolton picked it up and ran for the touchdown, which was huge because the Chiefs ended up winning that game by 4. And then last year was the hook shot, little flip to Jerick McKinnon, which is going near the top of Patrick Mahomes' highlight reels. Every time in Denver, there's something memorable that takes place. They win them all, but it's just something crazy that takes place. It's remarkable that that Denver has been the place of sort of a marker of some sort that, that happened in that game. Oh, that's right, that was in Denver. Like, what's going to happen in Denver on Sunday? I don't know. Hopefully it's another crazy Patrick Mahomes thing.
I think the fun thing would be behind the back pass.
Yes, there it is. The behind the back pass. That's a great prediction. You know what? I love that. Like, what's the left-handed pass happened in Denver and the hook shot happened in Denver? That this should be the behind-the-back pass happening in Denver. You are right about that.
I would love nothing more than that prediction to come true. I'm like I said, I'm a little nervous about this game. So, I don't know if it'll be out of reach enough for them to do it, but it would be just another I own you moment if they are able to pull that off. It'd be pretty sick.
Can you imagine how pissed Quinn Miners would be? I mean, he was so mad when they did the ring around the Rosie against the Raiders. He wasn't even in that game. Can you imagine how much of the offseason he would spend thinking about the Chiefs if they did a behind-the-back pass against his team? Oh, he would be livid.
Well, and it's not just Quinn Miners. Like, how down bad is every Broncos player in that organization? Like, we've seen so many Wolf, I forget his first name, Wolf, the defensive tackle.
It was,
Quinn Miners.
Derek Wolf, yeah.
Bowles. Derek Wolf, Garrett Bowles, Quinn Miners. All these guys are just completely broken. And, it's probably because the Chiefs actually have a streak, a Raiders player on a rookie deal. It could still be on a rookie deal and have beaten the Chiefs. Chargers obviously have been the number one contender for the Chiefs, the last couple of years. That whole organization is so down bad, despite never really being all that close in recent memory to even sniffing, competition with the Chiefs. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Kent Swanson is our guest, kcsn.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast. This Chiefs defense has been really good this year. Brian Baldinger on Twitter again today wrote about the impact of Charles Omenihu and then asked the question, is this the best defense in the NFL? Last week he talked about that, or last week or the week before he talked about that he thinks this is maybe the best defense in the NFL. They're suffocating, all these different answers. So certainly interesting that there's more out there. Bill Barnwell has the Chiefs as one of the 3 best defenses in the NFL. Is this something that as the weeks go on and as competition, at least from an offensive standpoint, that the defenses will be going up against, that this will stay, that what we see with this Chiefs team right now, that it might have been validation with the Chargers, first of all, but we're deep enough into the season that we're not just watching a Chiefs defense and going, yeah, but that team isn't all that. Yeah, but that team isn't. Yeah, but there's this. Yeah, but there's that. That the yeah buts start to go away more and more.
Well, I think the yeah buts are definitely going to start going away a little bit here, and I do think that Chargers game was a big benchmark for and how we look at this team, because the Chargers' backs are against the wall. They're desperate to try to win a game. They do break some tendencies. They do some really cool stuff with some of their no huddle and catch the Chiefs a couple of times. But the Chiefs just lock in. And, I think one of the things that is so encouraging to me, and this is a small thing that led to a big result, is you saw how intentional the Chiefs were about getting their hands up defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Omenihu gets his hands up, on the long drive that could have tied the game for the Chargers in the red zone, gets his hand up, and they get a turnover out of it. I think that's just a small indication of just how well coached and well prepared this group is week in, week out, where, I think the Dolphins probably score more than 21 points on the Chiefs, and the Eagles probably score more than 21 points on the Chiefs. But it may not be enough to, win a game still. And so, yes, there's some bigger challenges that are going to come up offensively for this team, or defensively for this team, but I don't think that should take away from anything that we've seen out of this group to this point, despite, they held the Jaguars to 9 points. That seemed to be a pretty good thing. Vikings are starting to play better, held them to 20. Russell Wilson, less than 100 passing yards the last time these two teams played. There's still some really positive indicators, despite maybe, a little bit weaker offensive schedule for some of these teams. I'm buying it 100%. It may not always be this, the exact same, 21 points or less, but they've dispelled about everything at this point. I'm buying what they're putting down.
The no huddle tempo is interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up because it was one of the things that I wanted to talk about earlier this week. That we just, how do you have enough time with 4 hours a day that now it's Thursday? How can you possibly get into some of the things you want to talk about with the Chiefs? But Steve Spagnuolo has talked about before about having the chalk last and being able to go to the board and, okay, this team adjusts. Okay, well, we can do this. This team does this. We can do that. But so often we talk about defenses adjusting to what the offense is doing. That the offense is going to dictate to what the defense is doing. We come out in 12 personnel. All right, they're going to have multiple linebackers on the field. We come out in, just 5 wide. Okay, well, they can go dime or, whatever it might be. The Chiefs in the game against the Chargers, the sort of cat and mouse game that I thought was interesting, and what the Chiefs have this year as opposed to years past. The Chargers went to the no huddle, and Craig Stout wrote about this. The Chargers went to the no huddle, and they were wanting to keep the Chiefs in their base defense. So the Chiefs early downs, base defense, they pick up a big chunk. The Chargers, let's tempo them and make sure they can't then substitute out and get into a different personnel package. And then Steve Spagnuolo adjusted. And he said, okay, well, we're going to go dime more often. And I'm going to trust our run fits in dime and Nick Bolton out there in dime. And we're actually going to start dictating to you what you have to do, which I don't know if ever Steve Spagnuolo has had a defense to where he can go, no, we're going to change up what we do. We're going to get into our best defense, the dime, one of the best units we have out there that has been incredibly successful. And we're actually going to make you adjust, and now you got to hand the ball off. But we're still going to come up and make a play and make the tackle and things like that. That no huddle thing was interesting because it was the Chargers and Kellen Moore trying to keep the Chiefs out of their best personnel package, and then it was Steve Spagnuolo going, "Nah, we don't care. We're going to go back into our best personnel package, and we're going to dictate to you what the game is going to be."
Yeah, and I don't think that was a decision that was – if I were to venture, I don't think that's a decision that's made on the sideline. I think that's a decision that's made on Tuesday. If they try to do this, this is something we will be ready for and we will handle, because you saw how organized, well-prepared, and how good against the run the dime still was.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that's really a positive sign for the defense is, the adjustment was, okay, they got us on a couple plays and we were a little bit heavier personnel with some of the tempo and some of that kind of stuff. But that group was ready to defend the run, and the run fits in the dime were great. And that's, I think, part of it. It eliminated, an aspect that the Chiefs have had their struggles with in the past. You know, the tempo stuff didn't work because of the lighter personnel, but this team has struggled with tempo, specifically against the Chargers. And the second half adjustment, quote unquote, one of the adjustments is going with lighter personnel, but you saw how well this group was able to handle the run. There was one explosive run play from the Chargers the entire game, and that was Joshua Kelly's big run. I believe that was against the heavier personnel, if I'm remembering correctly. But I mean, Austin Eckler, I don't think had a run longer than 6 yards the entire game. So not only were they keeping it low yardage, it was under 4 yards per carry, but it was consistently a small window of between 2 and 6 yards per carry. So it was a really impressive job by them, a great adjustment by them, and just the fact that they have the personnel, the flexibility in their personnel to be able to do that kind of stuff, and also withstand the loss of Nick Bolton here too. That's part of the reason I'm so optimistic about what this defense can do for the remainder of the season.
Ken Swanson is our guest. That's where I was going to go next, is the impact of Nick Bolton being missed over the next 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, hopefully back by December, certainly back by the playoffs. We've talked on the show here about without Nick Bolton, we've seen 3 games without him, and Drew Tranquill have the green dot, and the defenses look pretty good. Is it too simplistic just to be like, okay, Drew Tranquill's there, so the Chiefs won't miss Nick Bolton? Is there something more to that? Because, the play we talked about that in the dime personnel or even in, different packages, but Nick Bolton was on the field, and it was 3rd and 3, and the Chiefs were in the dime package, and their down linemen were all sort of spaced out on the outside shoulder of the guard and then tackles. So the middle was wide open, and Nick Bolton was the only one in the middle, and they handed off to Joshua Kelly on 3rd down and 3, and it is perfectly blocked, except for Nick Bolton reads it, recognizes it, beats the guard to the spot, makes the tackle on Joshua Kelly for a 1-yard gain, and they punt. If Nick Bolton is a step slower, the guard gets to him, and Joshua Kelly's in the secondary with one-on-one with Brian Cook. I don't know that, Brian Cook probably makes the tackle because he's pretty sound at doing that. But I don't know that Drew Tranquill does the same thing. I know that Nick Bolton did that. So are there elements there that actually will be missed that we may not see in real time of that was just the Chiefs were in this personnel and it was blocked perfectly? Well, it was blocked perfectly except for one guy beat his man, made the play, and that was Nick Bolton. Is it too simplistic that the Chiefs won't feel an impact without Nick Bolton? Is there something more there? Are we just that optimistic on Drew Tranquill?
So I think that play specifically, you're probably not going to see in Nick Bolton's absence. That is, in my opinion, the best version of Nick Bolton is a guy downhill playing the run in between the tackles. I think that's his biggest asset. That is his biggest weapon. So I don't think Drew Tranquill is going to make those kind of plays. He might slip a gap here and there, but as far as the strength power to be able to limit that kind of play, Drew Tranquill can get there first, but he's going to need a little help. Trying to keep that at a 1-yard gain, right? So there's that statement. I don't think those specific plays we're going to see. Now, I saw James Palmer tweet the other day that, the Chiefs are really impressed with Drew Tranquill. They have been trying to find ways to get him on the field more, which they 100% sure should, because I believe he is the best linebacker. He's been the best linebacker on this team so far this year. And they trust him with what they put on the plate of the Mike linebacker, which is a lot, is what the tweet said. So here's the thing: Nick Bolton's value, his ability, they put a lot on him. We can have arguments and discussions about some of his coverage ability, which I believe to be a very valuable piece of the linebacker position in the modern NFL. We can have that debate, but Steve Spagnuolo trusted Nick Bolton completely to put his team in the right position, and he was a guy that they trusted, implicitly. and to the point where there were times where he would be playing in the dime, and maybe he can't cover to the level some of these other guys could, but they just value what he brings to that field from his instincts and his intelligence and his communication skills. All that to be said, the fact that they trust Drew Tranquill the way they do, clearly, the fact that they didn't skip a beat, the fact that Drew Tranquill is helping get the defensive front aligned at very different times. I mean, his performance, his value is different than Nick Bolton's because he's an exceptional coverage player.
Yeah.
And if you are a guy that values coverage at the linebacker position like I do, you love what you're seeing out of Drew Tranquill. But if you aren't missing the communication element, if you aren't missing some of those pieces of the puzzle, the way they don't seem to be missing with Drew Tranquill, that's really valuable. And I think that's where, like, if that's the case, like that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge for this team, and having two guys that are capable to be, the kind of Mike linebacker that Steve Spagnuolo wants, even though they're playing the game differently.
Yeah. No, it's the Drew Tranquill signing becomes bigger and bigger and more important with Nick Bolton's injury. Visiting with Kent Swanson, kcsn.substack.com. Are we seeing the beginning of Rashee Rice becoming a trusted, a target for Mahomes that maybe we could even call it the number one target after Travis Kelce? Maybe not a number one receiver, but right now the number one target after Travis Kelce, that we're seeing the blossoming and the beginning of Rashee Rice becoming a consistent player that can make plays, and they've got a real, true option after Travis Kelce.
100%. I think you kind of heard Mahomes talk about that a little bit this week. This is something that I think if you've been paying attention and watching this team, you're seeing, the instincts of Rashee Rice, the feel for the game that Rashee Rice has, the understanding. Like, I believe 2 of his touchdowns have kind of been route adjustments in the red zone, just kind of understanding coverage structure, spacing, all that stuff. And Mahomes spoke to it this week. He named it this week, talked about the feel that Rashee Rice has, against zone coverage. And, kind of the thing that, some of us have been talking a lot about recently is just that understanding of coverage structure, that understanding of where, there could be an opportunity. And Mahomes trusting that he's seeing things is such a positive sign for his growth and development. Like, there's that red zone ability that we've seen compounded with getting the ball in his hands and letting him run has been, he's the most explosive pass catcher that this team has, and he's an absolute problem. He ended Dean Marlowe's career last week, the safety for the Chargers, in the screen game. But he did all that, and then also he kind of understood spacing and structure in the back end or backside of the end zone, and got an opportunity to make a play for a touchdown. So, yeah, you've got to be thrilled if you're a Chiefs fan watching Rashee Rice play. Watching him outperform some of the first-round rookies that a lot of us were claiming for. Not all of them. Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, pretty good football players. But, Rashee Rice has outperformed Quentin Johnston this year, and it's not even close. So I think you've got to be thrilled if you're a Chiefs fan watching him play.
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be somebody out there that said that they would take Rashee Rice over Quentin Johnston before the draft. I'm not sure who it is, but there's got to be somebody out there. I'll look it up. There's probably like a quick Google search or something like that warned people about Quentin Johnston and said, "Give me Rashee Rice over."
I'm sensing some context clues, Jason.
Yeah, it was Dylan.
Yeah,
it was Dylan. I don't know.
Okay.
It was James Anderson is who it was, actually. I don't know.
Oh.
We'll figure it out someday. Last one for you, and then we'll get your prediction. As it relates to Rashee Rice, I noted this yesterday. Josh and I did. We looked through Rashee Rice's usage early in the game, and I'll just go through the games Detroit to Denver and, the usage for Rashee Rice or how quickly he was involved. 10th pass of the game against Detroit is the first one to Rashee Rice. Jacksonville, 14th pass. Chicago, the 4th pass. The Jets, the 17th pass and the 6th drive of the game, by the way. The Vikings, the 10th pass. Denver, the 4th pass. Chargers, the first play of the game was a pass specifically to Rashee Rice. Is there correlation causation with that the last 2 weeks there has been more of those first 15 scripted were getting the ball to Rashee Rice early and getting him involved. In the last 2 weeks, he's had 9 receptions on 10 targets for 130-plus yards and a touchdown.
I don't know if I look too much at maybe like how early he's getting involved. I mean, there's probably a little bit of that. I think one of the interesting stats I kind of saw was he, I believe, has been on the field for over 50% of the dropbacks the last 2 weeks, and you've seen that. So, I think just true dropbacks, he's getting a lot more opportunities. So, I think there's probably some kind of correlation. His involvement is undeniably increasing. And he's becoming more and more ingratiated in this offense for sure, though. Not to completely diminish what you're saying, because there is some intentionality to try to get him involved early, and it's because he's a dynamic, valuable weapon that's starting to pick up things as the season is going along. He's getting a better understanding, a better feel, and all that. So, I think it's very apparent to me the offense is starting to run through him more.
Mm-hmm.
Not entirely through him, obviously. Travis Kelce's still that guy, but they are definitely trying to funnel some stuff into him. And manufactured touches, but also he's finding opportunities within the structure of the offense, and Mahomes has got an immense amount of trust in him. I think he's the guy. You could argue he's up there with some of the guys that were here last year, and definitely more than some of the guys like Sky Moore when it comes to trust. That's become very apparent to me if you're watching some of the ways that Mahomes tries to, baby some throws, or maybe make sure that Sky Moore is breaking on his route and breaking where he wants him to before he's throwing the football. There's been a couple of those moments the last couple of weeks. So, arrow is pointing way up, and I think the last 2 weeks are going to be more likely than, some of these lower-end performances that we've seen from the statistical perspective from him. So I think the arrow is pointing up. He's currently pacing for 733 on the season. If you gave me that line, I think I'd take the over on his season.
I would too. I mean, the last 2 games alone, if you took that through a season, that's over 1,100 yards receiving. That's what he's done the last couple of weeks. But it's only 2 games, so that's not 7 games or anything. So last one for you, prediction on Sunday. What do you think happens, and do you have a score in mind?
Ugly football game. I think the Broncos will throw some stuff out at the Chiefs that they haven't seen yet. Denver, you're right. Denver games are weird. I mean, remember the Chiefs were up a bajillion points last season and almost blew it. I think it'll be 20-17. The Chiefs still win it, but it's kind of an ugly football game. I wish I could predict the behind the back pass confidently, but I just think that this is going to be an ugly game. So 2017 Chiefs.
Awesome. I love that you went behind the back on that. That's great. It's the perfect answer. I mean, that's what it is. Kent Swanson, KCSN.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, as always, appreciate the time, brother. Enjoy the football, and we'll catch up soon.
Jason, Joshua, always a pleasure to talk to you both.
Yes, all on this side of the table, man. All on this side of the table. Thank you. Also, Kent, Dylan's wondering why you don't want to. It's not a pleasure talking to him. So.
And the funny thing is, he was so pleasant to me too when he called me. So I probably that's an oversight on my part. Sorry, buddy.
You know what? Go ahead and have another conversation with him.
Always forgiven.
Thank you, kid.
He thanked me for asking how he was doing. He thanked me for asking how he was doing. That's an upstanding human right there.
Dylan's too nice to be a part of the show. That's the problem. Thank you, Kent. You're the man. Appreciate it, brother.
Yep.
He doesn't even want to talk to you, Dylan. He's like, the hell? No, I was going to put him on hold, and I was like, hey, have another conversation with Dylan. No, hell no. He was serious about how it was a pleasure to talk to Josh and I.
Knowing how Costco is, though, he was probably just.
It's a good point.
I mean,
it's a great point.
That requires all focus.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want to just be standing back there while the lines start to fill up or anything. So that's correct. 2017, his prediction for the game on Sunday.
Awesome. Thanks, Kent.
That's weird. I do love the prediction, though, of what's the crazy thing that happens in Denver this year, because 2017 was Mahomes' first ever game. 2018 was a left-handed pass. 2019 was the knee. 2020, the last kickoff return for a touchdown for the Chiefs still. Byron Pringle had the kickoff return. 2021, the Nick Bolton scoop and score, which was huge. And then last year, the hook shot little flip to McKinnon against the Broncos. It's got to be something. It's got to be got to be something in this game. And I asked what that's going to be this weekend, and Kent said, let's go with the behind-the-back pass takes place this weekend.
One of the ones you just said there is by far my least favorite. So if it could just be one where the Chiefs score a cool touchdown, then I'll take it. Cool touchdown and a victory is all I really need.
Absolutely. Two of the near-the-top highlight reels for Patrick Mahomes in his career have happened in Denver. Left-handed pass and then the little flip to McKinnon, and I'm like that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. Big shout out to Google Fiber being a part of the show. As always, award-winning internet without data caps, annual contracts, or hidden fees. 1 gig, the same price since 2012 with Google Fiber, and now available up to 5 gigs. And the customer service that is awesome that you don't even really need typically. That's one of the things that Google Fiber presents for you. We might be presented with a pretty massive development in the AFC that has a specific Chiefs impact. And that is what's going on in Miami. Let's play this clip from Tua Tagovailoa. This was from his press conference yesterday. And Tyreek Hill showed up on the injury report of a did not practice with a hip injury. And there's a phrase in here that Tua uses. This is 1:20, but there's a phrase in here that he uses that could be ominous for Miami. But take a listen. He was just asked, Tua was, of what practice was like for the first time without Tyreek Hill.
It was a little weird not having someone like Tyreek out there, his leadership, his aura. But, it calls for other guys to step up in his room. Jalen, I think Jalen had a really good practice today. Said had a really good practice. A lot of guys had good practices today, especially being a Wednesday. Not having someone like Tyreek is hard, but that calls for other guys to step up.
Just a quick follow-up, if I may. Can't put into words the impact he has on the field on Sundays. How could you possibly, if he was at any point unable to play, make up for the loss of him?
Yeah, I don't think anyone can emulate what Tyreek does on the field. His speed, his cuts in and out of breaks. I don't think there's anyone that can emulate him. He's in his own league. He's one of a kind. But needless to say, I think people forget about the things that Jalen Waddle can do, the things that he already has done for our team since his rookie year. And there's a lot of other guys that I think that, you can't sleep on. If we couldn't have Tyreek, that would be, tough. But the show goes on. You got to continue to play. And somewhere down the line, we're going to get Tyreek back. And, it has to be one of those things where you never let your foot off the gas and you don't lose that rhythm as a team or as a unit.
Did you pick up the little phrase there with Tua talking about Tyreek? Somewhere down the line, we'll get Tyreek back. Doesn't that sound like the first words we heard from players about Kadarius Toney in training camp? Of like, well, we'll get him back eventually, and, he's going to be good. But somewhere down the line, we'll get Tyreek back?
Doesn't sound like he meant tomorrow being today.
Right. I mean,
May
he
not
could have
sound like
just
it
been
means Germany.
Look, he could have just been speaking in generalities of, well, get Tyreek back, but somewhere down the line, we'll get Tyreek back does not sound like, oh, well, he may play this weekend. Or, yeah, it was weird not having him there, but we know guys will step up and, Tyreek will be out there or he's got this. But somewhere down the line, we'll get Tyreek back, which is really massive for my fantasy team. But also for the AFC and this whole build-up and lead-up may not even have Tyreek out there against the Dolphins.
I don't know how your fantasy team's going to recover.
I'm not sure either. But it is, in all seriousness, a massive development in the AFC if Tyreek misses a significant amount of time for what that does for the Dolphins offense. So we'll see. I hate injuries. I hope he's not injured. I hope he plays this weekend and next weekend as well for my fantasy team and also just football in general. But we'll see. We'll certainly be keeping an eye and an ear on what's going on in Miami. We will take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll keep an eye and an ear on what's going on out at Arrowhead with the press conferences coming up next.
coordinators and Trey Smith today is the schedule.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Bang.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Oh, my goodness.
You're welcome, America.
Yes. Woo. Pancakes for everybody.
I guess at that point they'd be pancakes for lunch, which is still fine. There's no bad time to eat breakfast food.
Let's have some breakfast, a lunch, a brunch.
The brunch?
Is it brunch? I never know what time it is.
Can I get biscuits?
Is it brunch? Is it lunchtime? Is it dinner? I'm not sure. We call it supper. Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Tobe, Matt Nagy, and Trey Smith will be. I like listening to Trey Smith.
I do too. It's been a minute too. So
Absolutely. It's been a while.
he had an openly just not a great start to the season. Been playing pretty good football recently.
He
Wonder
has.
if he'll talk about kind of that transition at all, or if he worked on anything, or just getting used to a new right tackle.
Yeah. So we'll hear from Trey Smith as well as the Chiefs get ready for the Broncos. And again, we talked in the previous segment just what could be out there on the unknown around Tyreek Hill, because Jalen Waddle is good. He's a good player.
Very good.
But they don't have the Travis Kelce to go to that the Chiefs went to when Tyreek was down. And then when Travis was down to go to a Tyreek Hill. Like, that was one of the things that separated the Chiefs when they had Tyreek and Travis, was that either one of them could be the number one receiver on almost any other team. Almost in not every team, but almost any other team. And Jalen Waddle, good player. Good player. And this may be the chance for Jalen Waddle to show that, no, I'm a legit number one too. I can pick up the slack, and I can be the guy that can go and create and do some of these things. These plays that are specifically designed for Tyreek Hill and his 100 and 150 receiving yards and touchdowns in these long passes that he just simply burns people. Like, you take that out of their offense, we'll see what they do. They may put up 45 points against the Patriots this weekend. You know, they're playing at home. They may punk them by 30, 40 points. We'll see what happens. They may go out there and score 17, and we say, okay, there might be, something going on with the Dolphins. Because, again, you need to have a little bit of time to throw. And right now, their offensive line hasn't exactly been giving them a lot of time to throw. Or at least, maybe, not necessarily a lot of time. They've been getting sacked a decent amount. And Tua isn't necessarily a guy that avoids the sacks, that pressures don't turn into sacks like Patrick Mahomes. But we'll see. But when you got a Tyreek Hill, it changes things for so many different defenses. Here's Dave Tobe.
All right. Fire away, guys. Girls.
McCole kind of gave up some yards early in the game on the punt returns by letting them bounce.
Yep.
Were you at all tempted to, before the big one,
No. Just talked to him on the sideline about it. Particularly I guess it was the third to last one where we had big field. We had the defense stay out there, and he bombed one. He just stayed on the 20 instead of going back and getting it. We talked about that one. And then the funny thing was the long one that he got was the same exact punt. So he went and got that one, and then obviously it paid off. So
there could be a little rust in that, right? Because he just hadn't done it in a while.
Yeah, that's why I'm chalking it up to. I mean, he's it's good to have him back. He's got a lot of juice out there. He's got some, obviously a little bit more speed than we've had, and he's got a lot of experience back there. But he hadn't been doing it. I mean, he's probably done it in practice at the Jets. I mean, he told me he did, but we haven't seen it. But he got better as the game went on. Got used to it a little bit more, seeing how we're blocking people up, and obviously it was a big return for us and a good time.
What about Tony in that role?
Yeah, Tony could. He's a guy that practices and does it. And
Well, why not? I mean, what
why not?
Yeah.
I just think that Andy wants to keep him, on the offensive side. He wants him, he's a specialty guy for him, and that's, I mean, he's a guy that he's our next guy that goes, obviously, and then Sky Moore's in the mix too. But
in baseball, not everybody judges a fly ball well, right? You're taking that straight line route that you want as opposed to some banana route or something bigger.
Yeah, you got to read the ball and everything.
Yeah, a little bit easier in football, but still the same kind of thing, right? Some guys are better than others at getting a quick read and a jump.
Yeah,
on it,
no
right?
question. I mean, you could always tell if a guy's a good reader or not if he's moving late to catch it. If he's sitting there and the ball's chasing, I say the ball should be chasing you, like you anticipate where the ball's going to be. And football never just comes straight down. It's it's always moving, so you have to read the ball, and there's a lot to it. That's why punt return is so hard. It's so tough. It's hard.
Hey, Dave, a couple guys mentioned it was a safe punt. Just how impressive it from McColl to return it so far when you guys,
It's impressive because we put our defense out there a lot because of what's happening to us. I mean, like 4th and 4, 3, we're going to have defense stay out there from now on because teams run fakes on us. And so, but the thing is, they're not only stopping the fake, now they're getting better at the return part. They're blocking guys up, and they did a really great job. I mean, all those guys, Karloftis and Dickerson and all the guys that were out there, Dana and Noddy, they all did. They're big guys running down the field making blocks for you. So, I mean, it's impressive.
Do you see some enjoyment from some of these defensive guys?
Yeah, it is. It's it's special because you see a lot of teams they have defense stay and they just all their job is to make a punt. They punt and they see them walking off the field even before the ball's even caught sometimes. But the play's not over. And we emphasized it and we keep working on it and they take pride in it and it really paid off in that game.
Harrison's sick today. Is this Justin's day then?
Yeah, it is.
How are we working through?
He's gonna work practice today, Justin. So our backup plan, because yeah.
With Nick Bolton going down, how is that going to shuffle some specialty linebackers?
Yeah, we'll have to make a decision. We've got some ideas out there what we're going to do. Obviously we'll make that decision as the week goes on. But yeah, we're going to have to do something there. In the linebacker area, or possibly bring up a safety. That guy's going to help me. He's going to be a special teams guy because what happens is Tranquil was helping me. Now he's going to be strictly on defense, and now I have to get his position replaced.
What is it about the linebackers and safeties that kind of
it's the speed, it's the it's the ability to block in space, agility. The D linemen, I mean, they're good straight ahead guys. I mean, but then I just got done telling you how good they are in the blocking too. But that's what you want. You want guys that are fast and that can move in space and block and tackle in space.
Coach, on the catching the punt subject again, I know McColl's not bad at it, or he wouldn't be back there, right? But is that part of his game that he needs to get a little better?
I mean, now that he is the guy, he's going to get all the reps. So he's going to be, emphasized, in practices and, from this point forward. Now he's a good catcher. Is he the best catcher in the world? No, but he's a good catcher, and and he's smart enough to know if he's out of position, just let the damn thing go. You know what I mean? So, but certain times you got to go back and get it. When they overkick your coverage, when they outkick your coverage, you're running away from the coverage. You got to go get it.
Couple more. A little scouting report maybe on Denver and if there's anything different when you see them so close.
Well, we just played them, obviously. I mean, so that's a benefit for us. As far as personnel, we know what they are. Sometimes when you don't play a team for a long time, it's different personnel. So now we know them that way. We know that Mims is a great returner. I mean, that's the longest return that we gave up, and our punt team was against him. So we know that. We see it. We see him has talent. We see that he has talent on a kick return game too. He can get outside. So, they're a good unit. They're playing very hard right now under Westhoff and Ben Kotwicka. So, we have to deal with that.
And weather could be a little dicey out
there.
No
question.
You look at the weather forecast a lot. What do you see?
Yeah, we watch it all week. Obviously, we know. I mean, it started off high of 35, and as it's been going now, it's like mid-20s. They say for kickoff. So that affects us. I mean, it's the altitude is going to help hang the ball up, but then it's going to be negated by the cold weather. So it'll probably be back to normal. I mean, in my mind, that's what I've been telling the guys that. That extra 5 yards you get for the altitude, with the cold weather, gone. So, we got to look to possibly get more returns, kick returns for us and for them. So, those are all factors.
Would you be comfortable going into a game with Justin as your kicker, or if Harrison was going to be out, would you want another guy?
If he was going to be out for a long time, if we knew that he was going to be out, we'd want another kicker. I mean, I feel comfortable that Justin could come in, but you want a real kicker in that situation.
Your expecters like your kick on Sunday.
Yes, he's yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Apologize, Coach. On that subject, is he good enough to I know
he's good enough to get it. He's good enough to get us through a game. He's good enough to get us through a game. He can make an extra point. He's a long range.
If you wanted to be a kicker.
If you wanted to be a kicker, in the NFL level, I don't think he could do it. I mean, I love him, but he'll understand why I'm saying that. He's a good safety.
All right, there's Dave Tobe. I think the feels like a kickoff is going to be like 25, 26 degrees. The actual temperature is going to be in the 30s, but the feels like will be mid 20s. And then in a stadium with wind swirling, things like that, maybe it's going to be even colder because that Titans game last year for the Chiefs at home, whatever the feels like, and then with the wind was ridiculous. Here's Spags.
Got everybody we need? All right, we're on to another challenge, another division game, right? Team we just played, so that makes it a little bit familiar. And with that, I'll open it up. We got the T-shirts, the all juice teams on today. You guys must have called each other this morning. What are we wearing? I'll open it up. What do you guys got?
I don't know today's calls. Nick, you've already played a little bit without Nick.
Yeah.
This year. It's just, you love him.
Yeah.
But how Drew can maybe sit in here again and jump in. Is it better knowing, like when he left during the game, it's one thing to kind of quick change, but now you got a week to get ready for it?
Well, I mean, the point you're making about the fact that we've played a couple of games, I want to say it's a total of 3, right, without Nick so far, and Drew's been in there, and the guys have felt Drew in front of the huddle, and all week long, obviously. I think there's a comfort level with the other 10 with Drew in there now, having done it. I think they felt that way when Nick went down the first time, but it's nice to know we have a guy that can fit in there and not skip a beat. And I mean, I said this before, I never felt like we had to cut things back when Drew took over in those 3 games Nick was gone, and feel the same way now, so hopefully we can keep tracking upward.
Those kind of top 4, with Leo, Willie, Nick, and Drew,
Yeah.
they've been your rotation. Do you see Jack and Cole and maybe even Cam Jones getting in the scene?
Well, Cole's not on 53 now when you think of Cole Christian, but Jack certainly. Listen, we got a lot of faith in Jack, and when Nick was out before, Jack was in a rotation of a package, let's say, and we've got no problem doing the same thing. All those guys have played good enough football, I think, to this point where they all merit some play time. So we'll just see how the game goes and what the situations are and whether that happens or not.
Steve, you got to play the Broncos twice anyway, but are there different challenges when you're playing twice in 3 weeks? Or is it any different than if you got 2 months in between?
Well, I mean, the one thing with 2 months is there's a chunk of different film, and maybe the unit you're going against has changed. They've had injuries, and with 1 game in between, it looks similar. I mean, they played really well against Green Bay. They ran the ball really well. I mean, I think they're running the ball really good now with those 2 backs, especially. Maybe the one thing we feel is the individual staff meetings that we have situationally. At one point you're doing first and second down, then you're doing third down. They seem to go a little quicker because it was 2 weeks ago and there's only 1 new film in there on our own. So from that regard, maybe I get home a half hour earlier tonight. I mean, we try to do that anyway.
How pleased were you with Charles and what he was able to do?
Yeah.
His first look?
It's nice to have a guy back there with that length. That was a huge play that he made. It was a 3rd down in the red zone, right? 4-point play. It turned into a 7-point play because we picked it off. But no, he was some juice for us, and hopefully each week we can stack some more things on there for him. But it was nice to see him come in 1 week and just get plugged in and make some plays. I was happy for him.
Steve, what is sort of the art of batting down passes? I mean, some of the stuff seems obvious, but I wonder if there's more to it than...
With our guys?
Yeah, just the art of batting down.
Yeah, listen, a lot of that I think is innate. I think we've got some guys that innately, get their hands on. We got a couple of guys with some length. Charles and Chris, obviously, God gave them appendages that are going to help them do it. But like even if I'm not mistaken, I think Derek has one this year, and that's just because he gets it up at the right time. George certainly has a great timing for it. Mike Dana has gotten some inside. I think our guys have a real good knack for it. I mean, we preach it. Certainly when we're playing certain size quarterbacks, it becomes more of an emphasis. But a lot of what we look at is where quarterbacks are releasing the football. They're not up over the top. And situationally, like, our guys, you get in the red zone, you should think more about it because of where the ball's going. 3rd and 2, 3, 4, they think a little bit more about it. So our guys have been good at embracing that.
That tip pass that Charles had came in that look that you're finally able to get on the field with Chris and George outside and Mike and Charles inside.
Yeah.
It's kind of a 3rd down package.
Yeah.
What's special kind of about that group? And especially for you, you've had looks like that all
Yeah,
your career.
I had. What's really good about that, I mean, all 4 of those guys, George doesn't go inside as much, but all 4 of those guys can go inside. All 4 of them can go outside. That's the luxury. And the pressure you put on them is to mentally know, as a player, all 4 of those spots, as opposed to, you're the right end, you're the left end, you're the right tackle, you're the left tackle, here are the calls, know that spot. These guys have done a good job at knowing. And so if Chris wants to get on a guard, then somebody that's going out on a tackle knows how to do it. So that's pretty important. And so that's the intelligence of those guys that I would give a good
What's the benefits of having that, besides just the matchup? Get maybe a matchup you want. What's the benefit of having
that matchup's one of the bigger ones. In teams not getting the beat on where somebody's going to be. I mean, let's face it. Most teams that we play are going to try to find a way to get 4 hands on Chris and not 2. And if they knew he was always going to be the right tackle, it'd be a little bit easier. But not knowing where he is, they've got to do some things. Like they may have to move something, bring the tight end over here. So hopefully it gives them a little bit more thinking.
We'll go into the strategy of you and Joe figuring out the matchup of offensive lineman X and like frequency and that.
Yeah, most of that we rely on the players. Listen, our guys do a good job of studying the film. Chris is always looking at the tape and looking for what he thinks might be his best match. Mike Danner grinds tape, all those guys, George, and they get together with Joe and figure out situationally what we should do or shouldn't do and where our best matchup might be. And once they get the calls from what we're putting in, then decide where we want people in those particular calls.
Aside from your time in New York, is this kind of one of your most fun, like, long limbs, strong games package,
toys.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, it's the way the guys have been operating, and when you're saying that, I think you were all leaning toward the conversation with the linemen. But I just think that the combination of the linemen we have with the linebackers makes a big difference. I'm not sure we've had the luxury of the linebacker speed that we have right now. If I'd have to go back and think of all the defenses we've had here, the people in other places, but that's a little bit of a luxury. But I keep going back to that front group, linebacker, D-line that we're working with, to the fact that they can all operate in multiple calls, and that's a credit to them and how they work during the week and preparing and their football intelligence, what I call football get it. We've got a lot of guys with football get it, and we've been 5 years in the system, so there's continuity. That helps. All that is kind of packaged together. My hope is that we can just keep doing it. I mean, we got to stay healthy. I know we got Nick's banged up now, but we got a whole stretch here to go. It's early, right? I'm glad it's gone the way it has, but we're just kind of looking to the next one. We're just trying to hope to play our best game this coming week, and then after that, play a better game than whatever that was.
Coach, you mentioned Michael Dana and film study, but he's on pace for 11 sacks. I know they kind of come in bunches.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to definitely get to that number, but is there anything that in particular he worked on in the offseason that he's really improved at this year?
When he came back here right from the beginning, I thought he was more powerful, and he trained. If you talked to him, I know he trained exceptionally hard in this offseason. He looked different to me when he came back, and he's kind of on a mission, and he's been on a mission, and that's what I love about Mike. Mike's I hope people talk more and more about him. He's been a real valuable asset for us. I always tell him he's got natural leverage, and in this game it's all about leverage, and he's really powerful from the waist down. He's a good football player.
A couple more. Go ahead, Nate.
Steve, what did you anticipate when you guys acquired Mike Edwards, and what has he shown you through 7 games that maybe is what you expected, or slightly different from what you expected?
The pro personnel department, I remember talking to Mike Borganzi and and Veach and his crew, and I didn't know a lot about Mike at the time, then did the film study, and they were really high on him. And he is a natural, gifted, intelligent football player. And the greatest thing about Mike is he accepts his role and is passionate about it. Like, he's not a starter, but he kind of is. We're getting him in there, and he's earned that. He's earned the respect of the players. He's got some natural instincts. He sees the game really, really well. Like, some guys see the game through a straw. You can only give them certain things, right? But Mike sees the whole thing. He's been around enough defenses to understand football. He's played in the league, so he knows offenses. But he's been a real luxury. I'm glad we got him. Him and Drew, new guys that are in there that the system's new. They've just kind of just pieced right in. Charles hopefully will do the same thing. And we keep rolling.
Last one. You're off the
See you warm out.
Thanks, Coach.
I love that saying. Some people see the game through a straw. That you can only give them certain things because they don't see everything going on. They see it through a straw. It's a great visual, too.
It's a great visual. Makes a lot of sense. There's a lot going on. You focus in, and then all of a sudden you're not seeing the whole picture.
Maybe not as great of a visual as Spags talking about what some of the defensive lines were gifted with.
And if you missed it, we'll have it for you tomorrow. We'll let you know.
You'll probably hear it tomorrow.
You might hear it several times tomorrow.
At some point. I'm not sure.
I might be trying to tweet out the clip today.
But, yeah. Hey, here's Matt Nagy.
Been together for a while and done some good things, but what's happened the last like 3 games? It seems kind of remarkable. What's going on with those two? Is there something you see between the two of them recently?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen here for many years Kelsey's growth in this offense, and then his relationship with Pat's growth, and then you put it all together. And I would probably peg it as the biggest thing is going into this year trying to figure out how our team's going to try to play the Kansas City Chiefs 2023 offense. And it takes a little bit of time for us and for the players to kind of adjust. Is there going to be a lot of man? Is there going to be a lot of zone? And then how do you work versus that? And so I think we all know that man and zone with Kelsey and Patrick, they link up together. They know how to work. So if you're going to play a lot of zone, Kelsey knows how to find areas. If you're going to play a lot of man, he knows how to win versus man. You're just seeing a little bit more of that connection. Also where Pat might push up out of the pocket, have a scramble, and still, like, there's just a couple plays where you see where you just shake your head where, it's the first part of the play, the second part, and third part, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, they just, like, connect, and he finds them. And so you're probably just seeing more of that now. I also think, too, Adam, that it's partly also that these other wide receivers are growing, and now teams are seeing that, and they know they got to understand, they got to know where they're at, too. And so that helps open Kelsey up, knowing that. So I think it's kind of a combination.
Matt, how many plays in the playbook actually identify Kelsey as like the primary target? More percentage-wise, if you had to guess.
Yeah, I mean it probably changes slightly every week, but it's that's a great question. I don't know if I know an exact percent. I could just say it's a lot. It's a lot. So that hasn't changed like this year. Right. That's been forever. That it's a lot, and then it's just a matter of how much of a lot does he get in that game versus, for instance, you have a game, you have certain games where he has, not a lot of catches but a lot of touchdowns, right? Or he has a couple catches for a lot of yards, but one thing he has done is he catches footballs every game, and that's a part of who we are. We know that there's that trust that those two have together that gets better and better every week, every game. The younger guys see that. The guys that come in here see that. We just are always careful with those other receivers that they make sure that they try not to come in here and do what Kelsey does, because what Kelsey does is rare and special, just like Patrick, and you put two rare and special guys together, it's fun. And so you just got to be able to make sure that these guys come in here and they stay within the system. As far as, you still don't want to lose their personality and their creativity, but Kelsey built to this, and Patrick built to this relationship with him, and now they're at a high level right now that they're doing, and it makes it difficult for man or zone.
With that in mind, how significant has it been that Rashid's really taken a set of the second and third read and been open for Patrick?
It's a really big part of it. It really is. And it's not just Rashid. I mean, Rashid's had some nice catches, and he's made some explosive plays. But, I mean, even like last week, you look on some breakdown and scrambles with Quez, getting open. And these guys are learning. Patrick is a guy that when he breaks the pocket, you better be running. You better not be standing around thinking you're not going to get the football, because some quarterbacks scramble and you cut the field in half and that's all you get. With Patrick, the whole field's open. So he can do whatever, whenever, however, when he wants on the scrambles, and good plays happen, and that helps. But these other receivers are doing a great job right now of really working together as a unit, as one, and Coach is doing such a great job at really putting these guys in great positions.
As a coach, how uncomfortable does it maybe make you sometimes when, like, maybe you wouldn't have told another quarterback, hey, you can throw across the field now, but with Pat, you sort of have to change?
Yeah, you get some guys that sometimes think in their brain that they might be able to make some of these throws, and then you get there and you say, no, you can't. You can't. You can try, but it's hard. And it's just, again, it's something that Pat has, but you got to be careful with that because there are some guys that can do it and are able to do it. So it's a fun trait that he has that's advantaged Chiefs because of him. And this isn't, I mean, he's been doing this for a long, long time. And now it's having the other guys understand what Pat does, and then it's having the other guys understand just as rare as he is at that position, Kelsey is as rare at the tight end position.
Has his arm changed at all? Stronger? Anything like that since you saw him, back in 17?
No, I mean, every now and then I think it's more being facetious. Pat will say his arm's a little weaker. I don't believe it. I've seen him chuck that thing 80 yards. So recently. So I mean that his arm's not getting any weaker. I think he sometimes says that to almost like make somebody tell somebody else that his arm's getting weaker so that you think that, and then he just gashes you over the top. So his arm is not getting any weaker.
You mentioned the growth of some of the other receivers. With Rasheed, I'm sure there's multiple areas, but is the main one just his ability to sort of read what teams are trying to do to him?
No, I don't think it's that right now. I think what it is if you go back to training camp, it was hard for him. Like any normal receiver that comes in, it's difficult and not easy to get lined up and know where to go and what to do within the play. Right now, that part's getting easier for him. So when he breaks the huddle, he knows exactly where to line up. He's looking across at the defense, and he has an idea of what the coverage might be, and now he can adjust his route accordingly. That allows him, we all talked about the drops early on with him early in the season, and when you're thinking about the details of the play or the route, sometimes you lose the natural ability that you have all your life to catch the football. Obviously, you're seeing that come back, and it's getting better and better, and that's a credit to him because his confidence is growing in a good way. He knows he's got a ways to go, but you can see in practice when he breaks the huddle, there's not so much where you run out to the left and got to run back to the right because you went to the wrong side, or your split's a little off. You see less of that. So when you get in the game, you're at the spot you need to be, and when the quarterback sees that, there's trust. And the more and more trust you have between a quarterback and wide receiver, tight end, running back, the more successful you're going to be. And I think you're slowly starting to see that with this offense. It takes a little time. And, you go through the series, every game, there's highs and lows. We just had a good one offensively. We got to stack it. We got to do it again.
Couple more.
I asked Coach Reed about, back in the day, Tony Gonzalez would get Champ Bailey on him or something.
Mm-hmm.
He said they did a little bit of that with Denver with Patrick Surtain. Are you surprised you don't get more of that with the way he plays?
We do see that, and you see guys put their best guy on our guys every year, whoever that is. A lot of times it's obviously Kelsey. But the coordinators also, it kind of breaks what they want to do sometimes, depending on the down and distance, how they want to play it, and it puts a guy that might always be on the left or right or on the outside versus inside in a different spot, and sometimes there's tells with that. But I think for the biggest thing is with us being able to understand that we're always going to get that is how do you kind of counter that with what we want to do every week, how it's different. And so like whether you play man or zone against Kels or whoever the wide receiver is for any team, coordinators and coaches always usually try to have some type of plan, and then you just and then the other part too is adjusting within the game. You got to be able to adjust.
Last one.
What do you feel like you're at with your run game right now?
Yeah, I think it's growing. It's not where we want it to be yet. We know that, but I kind of look at it like our offense in general. It's growing, and it's not 100% where we want it to be, but we know that it's we got the players. We know we have the scheme. It's just putting it together. And some game you might come out and run the ball way more than passing it, or vice versa. So we're not frustrated at all. We understand we got to keep working on it and understand whatever we need to do to get better there to help out, the run and pass, we'll do it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
All right, take care. No problem.
All right, there's Matt Nagy. We'll hear from Trey Smith coming up here in just a little bit. So Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, and Matt Nagy. as on Twitter pointed out, which is a great question. It's different when Travis Kelce was single, but is Brittany okay with Travis and Patrick waking up together now that Taylor Swift is in the picture? Because there could be some jealousy with Taylor Swift there. I don't know.
Greatness requires that kind of sacrifice sometimes. I think they all understand.
That's a good point. And she understands,
that's a special connection.
Everybody together. Here's Trey Smith.
As close together as you guys are facing the Broncos from you playing before, is it good, bad, different? What do you think about playing this close in the season?
Yeah, it's a challenge, especially when you face an opponent in a short time frame like we're doing. Just being an AFC West opponent, someone we're familiar with, but it's definitely a challenge when you go up against a guy. He knows your tendencies now. Pretty much what he's doing, tendency-wise as well. But ultimately, we just got to be prepared when we face him.
You ever have a moment like you're watching the games, like fans will watch the game like you had against the Chargers, and the question that everybody's saying in bars and living rooms is, why do they cover Kelce? Is there ever a moment where you guys are like have a little chuckle at time to kind of realize how he should be the smart man, yet still every Sunday he goes out there and it seems like it's just they're having a catch out the yard or something?
Yeah, I think most of the league's asking that question. A lot of times you watch him. I mean, when you watch Trav work, it's incredible a lot of times how open he is, his knowledge for the game, to put him in position to be that open and to manipulate defenders and defensive scheme, to let him have the ability to do what he does best. He's been one of the best tight ends he stepped in the league. So it's honestly so much fun to watch. But, at the end of the day, like you said, he should be targeted, man. He's one of the best to do it.
Trey, where would you say as a whole the running game is right now for you guys?
Yeah, ultimately we just have to be better in the run game. Just got to keep striving at it. You got to keep working and do what our coaches tell us to do.
We talked to Isaiah this week, and he said that he believes you really love the counter, and he always feels bad because the cornerback crashing down. When you see that play coming, what goes through your head?
Destroy what I see. Just pull as fast, as much speed as I can, and just lay down the wood. But ultimately, it's really just more being measured in everything I do and just whatever it takes to play to go and be successful, I got to do it.
Looks like it's going to be a little chilly out there with the greatest weather. You've been in the league long enough. You've played some cold weather games. You like that weather when you're in the trenches?
Yeah, cold weather's big guy weather, and I prefer it. You can play and sustain a lot longer, especially in longer drives, and you feel better when you get the juices flowing and pumping. But to me, I've always preferred cold weather over hot, warm weather. But at the end of the day, however cold, however hot it is, put that ball down, let's play.
That game in Jacksonville a few weeks ago, was that difficult, given the heat down there?
Yeah, I think it goes into the mentality aspect. You have to always be prepared for what you face. The elements are always going to be a factor. You can't let the elements stop you from doing what you're supposed to do out there. And, when it's heat, you just got to be mentally tough. You got to keep thinking about, okay, what do I need to do to make my job successful and be great for this team?
We played a team that had some struggles early on, and the record's not what they want it to be, but they've held their last two opponents under 20 points. What do you see, including the Chiefs? What have you seen with them where they've gotten better here in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, talking about the Broncos again being an AFC West opponent. Once again, we know them, they know us, but they take a lot of pride in their defensive unit, and they've been playing some really good ball. And at the end of the day, the NFL is the NFL. Everyone's good, everyone's great. The margin for winning and losing is extremely small, and like I said, they've been playing really good ball, and we just have to play better ball at the end of the day and just be successful.
Trey, you had your high school jersey retired a few weeks ago. What did that experience mean to you?
Yeah, it's special. Being a USA Bruin, obviously I got my first start playing football at the University School of Jackson. It was really a special moment to go back home, see people you love, people that are instrumental in your development in your life, and enjoying that moment with family. It's something I'll never forget. Truly honored to have my jersey retired in my high school, and I was really proud of the moment, but just super thankful.
Couple more.
Are you much of a trash talker?
No. People who are trying to be great at the game we don't have time to talk trash on the field. I'm trying to save my breath so I can keep going.
Are the Broncos trash talkers?
No, hey, you have trash talkers on every team. Every player is sort of different, and it's a good rivalry game. Some words might be muttered, but at the end of the day, we just focus on putting that ball down and putting our face mask on the opponent.
Trey, I want to ask you about one of your plays after a couple of plays after the Pacheco run there when you're past that and then you got the defender on the ground and you kind of stepped over him and then fell back. What was going on there?
Got him on the ground, just sort of got him off balance, and I think I had a costly hold earlier on. It's just like, whatever I do, just don't get another hold. And at that point, he was out of position. I'm like, yeah, I could just fall on this guy. So just try to fall on him, not get the hold, basically. But it was sort of a goofy play. I guess it's gone viral. But
Great. Thanks, guys.
appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Love listening to Trey Smith. You can give me 20 more minutes of a conversation with Trey Smith of cold weather is big guy weather. It's big guy weather. Also, destroy what I see.
It's what he says in space before delivering a pancake, and it's also what I say when I look at a big plate of pancakes.
Destroy what I see. Oh, that is the mentality you want from an offensive lineman. Going out there, and what's your job on this? To destroy what I see? Correct.
And then maybe fall on the guy if he ends up on the ground just for fun.
Just for fun, yes. That was a funny video, though, of him sort of like holding his hand and that stuff. But we need to take a time out. We'll do that. We'll come back. We'll continue talking some NFL football, some Chiefs football. And then Sports or Leisure comes up at 1 o'clock, presented by Johnny's Tavern. More Zone right after this.
The Zone with Jason Anderson is presented by Guaranteed Foods.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. 1 o'clock, we got some Sports or Leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. Have a little fun with Sports or Leisure, and you can have a little fun at Johnny's Tavern, winning $25 to Johnny's Tavern if you get the sports and the leisure question correct. 913-912-4810. Any actual takeaways that are maybe senior level or college
junior or above, not sophomore,
or professional level takeaways from the press conferences that we heard from Dave Tobe and Spags and Nagy and Trey Smith?
Yeah, I think Spags had the most interesting.
Oh, really? I just prefaced it. I just said we move past that.
I think Spags also had the second most interesting clip of the day, talking about Drew Tranquill. We've heard him. It's just kind of interesting to hear, and I am connecting these dots. Spags has not connected these dots. But when he talks about guys like seeing the football field through a straw, I think it's actually gotten better here. But in years past, the way he's talked about guys like Willie Gay makes me think it's a little bit of one of those guys who's maybe seeing it through a larger and larger straw, and maybe this year Willie Gay is seeing more of the field, which makes sense. He didn't even play a ton of college football. I digress. But when Spags has a guy like Nick Bolton, you can tell he loves that man.
Oh, yeah.
From the first press conference he gets to the podium after the draft pick was made. Like, you could tell, and then especially getting him into the defense, surveying everything, being the signal caller, all of that. We know how much Spags loves Nick Bolton, and I have wondered for a while, like, what is that going to mean come contract time, or what is that going to mean about the other linebackers? Who does he not talk about that way that means maybe he doesn't have all of that trust and faith in them? He talked about Drew Tranquill in many of the same effusive terms he's used to talk about Nick Bolton, which I just think is reemphasis on reemphasis on reemphasis that what Drew Tranquill has. And you and Kent talked about it a lot, some of the differences in terms of a specific situation for those two guys. Mm-hmm. But what I think Spags at least publicly values the most is a fast processor, a guy who understands the defense, who understands opposing offenses, and knows where to be. He's given that praise to Nick Bolton and very few other linebackers since he's been here. He gave it to Anthony Hitchens as well. Mm-hmm. I think Drew Tranquill's in that class now, which makes me feel even better about them surviving and really still continuing to thrive as a unit, even until Bolton gets back.
Couple things with that. That part about Drew Tranquill, he was effusive in his praise the first go-around when Nick Bolton went down and said that, well, we're not going to limit anything for him. We're not going to hold back in anything in the playbook or limit anything because we trust him out there. And then having those 3 games and then saying that there's trust from the 10 other guys. Because that's really interesting. The defensive coordinator having trust in this guy versus when he's making the play call and maybe adjustments for the defensive line or coverage or whatever it might be, that the other 10 guys trust that he's reading it the way that they are. And, we all need to be on the same page. Because if he's making an adjustment and somebody reads it differently, now you start to question and you're going, well, if we do this, no, you know what? I'm not doing that because I think that this is going to happen over there. Well, now you got a coverage breakdown. You got to have 10 other guys that are going to be trusting the person out there. So that's at least good that Drew Tranquill offers that trust is there. And he also offers a skill set that can get you through that you won't lose much, really, if anything, because it's different. It's a different linebacker than Nick Bolton. Mm-hmm. If everybody's getting lined up the way they need to be, then the way you can minimize an impact or eliminate the impact is that your skill sets are emphasized where you might have a deficiency that somebody else was better at that area. Drew Tranquill is not the linebacker of Nick Bolton when he's running straight ahead and reading runs and shooting gaps and beating some blockers to the spot and making tackles like that. It's not Drew Tranquill's game. But Drew Tranquill is going to be rangier and is going to be better in coverage when teams are passing on them than Nick Bolton would be. So there's a strength there. So can you take advantage of Tranquill's strength while minimizing the effect of not having Nick Bolton be that guy in the middle to read and react and stop a run play that he did against the Chargers on 3rd and 3 that could have gone for 15, 20 yards or the house if it wasn't for Nick Bolton specifically making a play on that? Is that an alignment that Steve Spagnuolo lines up in without Nick Bolton?
Right.
So it's not like, well, if Drew Tranquil's there, this play, same thing happens and it's a 20-yard gain. Well, he might not be lined up with, you've got Chris Jones and, you've got, I think it was Omenihu and Karlaftis lined up between the guard and the tackle, and you've got Chris Jones and Dana lined up outside the tackle. That's how wide open the middle of the field was, and you've got Nick Bolton, and that's it, and 15 yards down the field, Brian Cook.
Yep.
And it's 3rd and 3. And they handed it off because that's what you got to do against that look. The middle is wide open. Might have been better if Justin Herbert just went under center, took the snap, and ran straight ahead. Yeah. They might have picked up the first down. They handed it off. It was blocked brilliantly. The center goes and helps out with, or the left guard, I think it was the center, goes and helps out with with what was Omenihu, lining up at the right defensive tackle spot, but left side of the offensive line. Doubles on him, and then his job is then to get to the next level of Nick Bolton. By the time he turned, Nick Bolton had already read it, reacted, shot the gap. Josh Kelly, 1-yard gain, they're punting. If he gets there a step sooner, the middle is just so vacated. I mean, it's just wide open. It's a first down, chunk play. Who knows what happens after that? I have no idea. But the difference is I don't think Spags puts them in a situation like that because you're not utilizing Drew Tranquil's strength. That's not going to be – you utilize Nick Bolton. We can do this at a dime and leave Nick Bolton right here because I trust that he's going to read, react, or get off the block or do what he needs to do to help stop the run when we're in dime, which is not something a defense is supposed to do. You're not supposed to be good at stopping a run when you're in dime, and the Chiefs were good against the Chargers stopping the run when they were in a dime package, which is how it allowed them to stay in a dime package, which then affected the Chargers trying to go up-tempo. Because they were going up-tempo to keep the Chiefs in their base personnel. And then Spags said, okay,
right,
we'll adjust and make you guys, we're going to stay in our dime, and we're going to force you guys to try to run it. Oh, and by the way, we're stopping the run in the dime. Now you're passing it against our dime. You also can't go up-tempo to keep us in the dime because we're stopping the run. So the Chiefs had a clear advantage in the second half, but it's also because players made plays. It's not a clear advantage because, well, Spags schemed them. He can scheme all he wants, but if the three of us are out there,
right,
we're not making those plays. For instance, another 3rd down and short, this was Jesse Newell broke down this play, and Brett Tavo. They had 7 defensive backs back there, which there have been 31 total snaps in the NFL where defenses have played 7 defensive backs.
Interesting.
The Chiefs have played 5 of those 31.
Love it. They have the personnel for it, man. It's
yes.
crazy.
And so they played 7 defensive backs, and 2 of them got beat. L'Jarius Sneed on the outside against Quentin Johnston. Tried to play that he was going to be cover 2, so he was sort of like, sort of sideways, not lined up parallel with the line of scrimmage. He was sideways with the line of scrimmage, sort of his right shoulder was facing Quentin Johnston to look like he was going to drop back and cover 2. And at the snap, boom, he was in man-to-man. He went to go jam Quentin Johnston and missed. So now Johnston goes past him, and he's wide open, but Herbert didn't see it. Jalen Watson is playing inside leverage on Keenan Allen to not let the inside route go because it's wide open. There's nobody there. Keenan Allen, little jab move. Jalen Watson overreacts, and he cuts to the inside. He's open. It's a first down. Willie Gay, this is the one he bats down. The Chiefs are bringing 3, Karlaftis, Omenihu, and Jones, and Willie Gay's out there, and he goes to the line of scrimmage to about the left guard, and he's not going to get to Justin Herbert. So he stops. And he scans, and he jumps, and he knocks the ball down.
Gets that appendage up there.
That's exactly right. It's a first down to Keenan Allen. Jalen Watson was beat because Keenan Allen is great.
Yep, right.
And Jalen Watson is a second-year player that still has a lot of learning to do because the scheme was there. Mm-hmm. The scheme was right. The technique was right. You're guarding against inside leverage. You can't let Keenan Allen do that. Only Jalen Watson didn't play it well because Keenan Allen got him, just won that rep. But they didn't win the down because Willie Gay read it and said, well, I'm not going to get there in time. These guys can still pressure. I'm hanging back here. I'm not going to let Justin Herbert run. I can spy him, but also I see that he's looking over the middle, which is vacated, by the way. There's nobody there in the middle, and I know this because I'm not seeing the field through a straw anymore.
Right. Yeah, I think that's an awesome example of Willie Gay having a football IQ kind of play where it much like with the Chiefs pass catchers being like, I'm going to stop doing my route and I'm just going to stand here.
Mm-hmm.
At lower levels of football, I'm not going to rush the passer. I'm going to stand here and wait and see if he tries to throw it over my head, and then I'll jump up and bat at the pass. Some really horrible things to teach kids about football, right?
Right.
Stop running when you feel like it. Offense, defense, or special teams is bad advice. Until you get to this level where all of those little things matter so much. There's so many moving parts. I am very, very happy to see Willie Gay getting some of that credit in spots like that too, because the physical tools have been there since the moment they drafted him. And again, like, think about some of the common threads of the linebackers who have played maybe more than we wanted since Spags got here. Again, an Anthony Hitchens and a Ben Neiman, guys where there were maybe more physically talented athletes behind them, but Spags was running with the older dudes. Well, it's because you need to make sure that you can trust that you are going to have guys who, you say, the scheme was there and then it's about execution. You got to have guys who are going to get the scheme to that point. You have to make sure that everyone's seeing the right things. If this group, and it really seems to be the case, this group is younger, faster, more physical, the linebackers and the entire unit all together, and they're comfortable, and they know what they're doing schematically, and they understand the logic of all of it. Like Justin Reed saying preseason, he wasn't really comfortable in the offense until like week 13 last year, whatever it was against the Bengals in the regular season. All of that information has been soaked in for these guys, and now you've got another level of tinkering, and maybe even more importantly, one lesser level of thinking. One lesser level of, okay, let me read this. Is that right? Okay, I'm going to react. When everything can be happening at top speed like that and all the chess pieces are properly organized, you see this defense look as good as it does. It's just really, really exciting, and I don't think that trend is going anywhere.
And while the impact of Nick Bolton that we talked about, that how much of a deficit will they be facing, how much of a step back will that be, if any? What it does do, though, is it challenges your depth.
Yes.
Because Dave Tobe talked about that, Drew Tranquill was, I used him, and now he's going to be only a linebacker. So there's got to be a decision to be made on what we do because he won't be available to us. Well, okay. So then you do the next guy in line. Well, Tranquill only played 9 snaps on special teams against the Chargers. Leo Chanel played 21. So does Leo Chanel now move up? So now it's Leo Chanel playing 9. And Drew Tranquill not playing any. So everybody slides up. Okay, well, Jack Cochran is one of their main, linebackers and special teams.
Played 75% of the special team snaps this year.
So now does he slide up and play more linebacker? So now you're getting deeper and deeper into the depth of guys that you've used for special teams. And as Spags said, that they'll decide between a linebacker or a safety. So that'd be Isaiah Moore or Deion Bush to bring up in Drew Tranquill's stead. But you're rearranging some things. Because one guy's going from a special teamer and a sub-package linebacker to now your green dot on the field. Leo Chanel's going from a guy who's playing a lot of snaps on special teams, and against the Chargers he played 21, but how many snaps did he play on defense? Leo Chanel played 18 snaps on defense, 21 on special teams in that game against the Chargers. I don't think those numbers will stay the same against the Broncos or moving forward without Nick Bolton. Because he was the 4th linebacker, now he's the 3rd. So just by a matter of numbers. So, yeah, you got to figure some of those things out. But at least they have that. They've got a guy there that you're not going from Nick Bolton to Leo Chanel.
Right.
You're not going from Nick Bolton to Jack Cochran. Or Nick Bolton to Ben Neiman. You're not doing that. You're going from a guy who can clearly hold his own in Drew Tranquill. So, but it does start to affect different things. And we'll see what Dave Tobe is able to do with different guys out there. So
and Spags mentioned Cole Christensen's on the practice squad injured list. I don't
injured,
remember when that happened. Yeah, I don't remember the specifics of that. But so Cam Jones and Jack Cochran, those are all 3 linebackers. Cochran and Jones and Christensen are all essentially
Cochran, Cole, and Cochran, Cam, and Christensen.
There you go.
Yeah,
all 3 of those guys are essentially like depth linebacker, special teams, do it all kind of guys. So they're not going to have to bring anyone new in because they do have those numbers and hopefully that familiarity. But like you said, I think what I'm a little bit worried about is what happens if Willie Gay comes up gimpy at some point or anything like that. But that's the other thing with the secondary you have. I mean, Brian Cook's reputation has evolved, I think, correctly because he's a better deep safety than I think his reputation was giving him out of the draft as like a thumping box safety type of guy. But if you do need to have him play a little more aggressive of a role, you do have Deion Bush on the practice squad who played a pretty big role for this team last year. there is some depth if you're creative about it, and we know that Steve Spagnuolo is creative about it.
Yeah. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Wrap up this hour. Sports or Leisure coming up at 1 o'clock. More Zone next. All right, my friends over at Guaranteed Foods, they've done wonders for our family, and they will do the same for you, I promise. Just give them a shot. They can set up... All right, we got sports or leisure coming up on the other side of the break.
I have some NFL news for you.
You do.
From Cameron Wolf on Twitter, Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill is back at practice, bringing normal cheetah energy as Kirk Franklin plays. Hill later ran routes, caught passes, and did his normal high-intensity cutting during drills. Looked like cheetah. That's the emoji. Good sign after he missed practice with a hip injury yesterday. Yeah. That's from Cameron Wolf on Twitter.
So Tua, as he said, that we'll see him down the line.
Short line.
Meant like down the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I guess that is what he meant. Wow, yeah.
Well, we'll see him down the line of scrimmage tomorrow. So there you go. Less of a massive development in the AFC with Tyreek Hill returning to practice. It's just a weird, ominous thing for Tua to say that we'll see Tyreek Hill down the line.
We'll be back down the line.
Sure.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, that's right. Time for a little sports or leisure on this Thursday edition in the 1 o'clock hour. One more hour to go. You can play a little sports or leisure. 913-388-10 is the phone number. Oh.
Let's go and take this from the top again, Dylan. 3, 2, what?
All right, it's time for a little sports or leisure right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
913-333-10.
913.
I'm sorry.
810 $25 to Johnny's Tavern on the line to play some sports or leisure. You get a sports question, you get a leisure question. If you get them both right, hey, you win. I'm not sure what happens if you get either of them wrong.
You're out. It's over. It's done.
Mick Schaefer says it doesn't happen.
You're not allowed to go into a Johnny's Tavern ever again.
That's not true.
That's not true. You're more than welcome to go back to a Johnny's Tavern.
Except the
with
guy
or without a gift card.
Except the guy that had the face picture on the front there as you walk in that was not allowed in there. I'm not sure. But except for that guy.
As long as you're not that guy who's using the moniker Beards McFly, then you're fine.
It's weird, but yes, as long as you're not that guy. But yeah, it is time for a little sports or leisure. 913-388-10 is the phone number to play sports or leisure today. $25 to Johnny's on the line, and we'll give away. Let's go through the categories here as to what we will be playing with today. I've got one tailor-made question left, but I also have a number of other names with Taylor that I want to. That we can use. They are not football related though, so there's going to be different sports. So there's one tailor-made left, but there's other sports with the name Taylor included. I've got general NFL questions. I've also got some Chiefs specific questions, and I have Major League Baseball, and then a category today of Royals World Series.
Wow.
These will be questions about the Royals in specific World Series games and matchups and series and things like that in honor of the World Series getting underway tomorrow night with the Diamondbacks and Rangers. So, NFL, Chiefs NFL, Major League Baseball, the Royals World Series, and tailor-made that we can get into. What about leisure?
I'd love to talk about the leisure side. On the leisure side, we have What Could It IMDb TV? I'll give you the summary of a TV show. You got to tell me what the show is. We have the commonly misspelled word spelling bee. We have the return. It's been 2 long weeks since we last horsed around. So horsing around will be questions in honor of the Denver Broncos that might be real-life horse trivia, might be about fictional horses. You'll have to ask for the category and find out. And, Jason.
Yeah?
The return of the pun name game.
Return of the pun.
I'm a little out of practice, but I feel pretty good about a few that I've got here. I want to try to get the pun name game back up and running again. But you're going to have to be bold. You have to be brave enough to go that route. Hopefully our regulars know exactly how the pun name game works, and we'll be ready to take on that challenge.
Or those that ask for the pun name game. It's also fun that they don't know how to play sometimes.
I'll give you an old one here from the archives. You'll know when it's from by the beginning of the prompt.
Okay.
Chris Bubik's season is over after he had this unfortunately famous season-ending surgery, but there's no medical degree needed to surgically break down a plate of Wilson wings or a Nucleoluche pizza from this local staple.
Tommy Johnny's Tavern.
That's how the pun name game works, everybody.
Tommy John Surgery's Tavern.
See, that would not be accepted, unfortunately.
Okay, I see. So you'd even have to figure out
you
that a
got
little
a
bit.
Doug Peters, Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah,
you know?
Or the Kareem Hunt for Red October.
Kareem Hunt for Red October. Ty Dillon Brooks. That one made someone's life miserable, but I still have it written down here.
That's right. I remember that. That was the NASCAR racer,
yes.
Ty, and the basketball player.
Who would not be welcomed back
Dillon
under
Brooks.
any circumstances.
All right, 913-388-10. I'm ready to go. Josh, you ready to play?
I'm so ready to play. Dylan, are you ready to play?
Let's do it.
All right.
Love your energy.
913-388-10. To the phone lines we go, and we bring in Charles. Let me put you on hold there, Charles, because I pressed the wrong one. There we go. Charles leading us off on this Thursday edition. Charles, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's do some sports. Let's do the World Series.
World Series for you. Okay, let me grab these questions. Game 1 of the 2015 World Series. Very famous ninth inning that forced extras. Who scored the winning run? not the tying run. Who scored the winning run in Game 1 against the Mets 2015 World Series?
Scored the winning run, Game 1.
I know it gets lost because of Game 1. I feel like Alex Gordon should have been a walk-off, right? I mean,
was it?
Doesn't it feel like it was, right? Because it's just such a series-changing swing, like just history-changing swing. Was that for Gordon? But the winning run for the Royals in the 14th inning, by the way. Which also could have been a question, is how many innings did it take to win Game 1 of the series?
14th inning.
Yep. A lot of innings to play. How many innings will people watch tomorrow night if it goes 14? Nobody's going to be watching, Dylan. Nobody's going to care about this World Series. Right, Josh?
Listen, I mean,
Those Phillies and
care.
Rangers, we'd be watching, but Diamondbacks and Rangers, no thank you.
I do think that. I don't think the matchup matters for like 90% of baseball agnostic people. So
I don't know if it helps you or not if I told you that the run was scored on an anticlimactic sacrifice fly. I don't know if that helps or not, but if it sparks something in your mind or not, maybe because it was an anticlimactic sacrifice fly, maybe it doesn't ring a bell. But winning run, Game 1.
Game 1 winning run.
You could say he bookended the runs for the Royals that night.
Say it again.
You could say he bookended the runs for the Royals that night. You could say it. Josh wouldn't say it.
I'm not saying it.
I don't think you should say it.
I'm not saying a dang thing.
You should not.
I'm going to say that was...
Get a shot off. Take a
Escobar. Alcides.
That's correct. Yes, Alcides Escobar. You got there. Finally. So did the Royals in 14 innings to Game 1 with I shouldn't even give this out because this might be an answer. I was about to say something else from that game. I'm just not going to do it. I haven't looked through all the questions, so I'm not even going to do it. I was going to say Game 1 that, oddly enough, you'll find out later. On to Leisure with Josh.
What category would you like?
Run through them for me.
We got What Can IMDb TV, we got the commonly misspelled word spelling bee, horsing around, and the pun name game.
Let's try some horsing around.
Let's get horsing around then.
Let's do it.
I think I asked this one last time, but I refused to give the answer away, so this is going to start it off here again. Fill in the blank. Horses have the largest blank of any land mammal. No, it's not an appendage. Get your mind out of the gutter. No Steve Spagnuolo press conference jokes here.
No, that's Chris Jones.
The largest blank of any land mammal. What is it that horses have that's larger than any other land mammal? It's a PG answer, I promise you. I mean, it's just a G-rated answer. There's nothing obscene about it at all.
It's not PG-13?
Not even.
It's not like tasteful side hoof?
No. No side hoof, no under hoof.
Okay. That's PG-13, though.
That would definitely be PG-13. That's a great point.
Take a shot in the dark, and I'll say I.
Your shot landed.
Wow.
That's absolutely correct. They
Is
have the
that real?
largest eye of any land mammal. I learned that when I built these questions up a couple of weeks
ago. Is it only
ago.
one of them, though? Or?
Yeah, they have one huge eye and one tiny
They
eye.
have the largest eye.
One's a little bigger than the other. One's a little lower than it,
I have an eye for the win.
You sure do.
Whoa. Charles will put you on hold. Congrats, sir.
Thank
well
you now.
done. 913-3810810. That's
The
the
eyes
phone
have
number. Yeah, that yes, they do, apparently. They have the largest eye.
Any
One of
land
them.
mammal. Yeah, I did.
One of
I
them.
learned that too.
Let's go to Avery next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Avery, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Is there anyone that Googles more slowly than Charles? Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I want this Escobar question, and then I was also going to, like, hopefully get that eyeball question, because I remember that from 2 weeks ago. I was like,
Did we use that one 2 weeks ago?
I told you off air 2 weeks ago. I don't think I ever asked it, but I asked it. I never gave the answer.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember it being asked. Asked but not answered.
Exactly.
As we say to our kids. Except
Exactly.
it's asked and answered. Okay?
I'll
We're moving on.
start. I'll start horsing around. Oh, also, you asked me that Dylan Brooks question. I was the one who missed that question.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I remembered it being a little unfair and putting you straight in hell.
Good. I'm glad you're the one that missed it. Avery.
Yeah, me too.
In your face.
So let's horse around here with this animated horse, the Stallion of the Cimarron, starring as the title character in the 2002 DreamWorks movie of the same name, starring Matt Damon.
Wait. The Stallion of the Cimarron?
This animated horse is the Stallion of the Cimarron, starring as the title character in the 2002 DreamWorks movie of the same name, starring Matt Damon.
Oh, yeah, Spirit. Okay.
Of course he knew it. Of course he knew it. Of course. You mean Spirit?
Oh, it's Spirit.
Spirit. Yeah, I was watching Spirit last night, actually. I thought these questions might be coming back. Ding, ding!
Yeah, that's right.
Man, Matt Damon, he does not have a memorable voice.
That's what I was thinking. I also, again, I was like, I remember Spirit, I can get a question out of that. Starring Matt Damon.
I don't know. When I think of, do you like apples? Well, I got a number. How you like them apples?
Horses love apples.
Horses
That's
love
ticket.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Like he was the horse
Of
spirit.
course that should. He was a first-year grad student. Next week, he'll be in here regurgitating Gordon Wood. And yeah, I read that passage, too. Working Essex County, page 30.
I'll
on
try
the sports side.
Royals World Series is.
All right, let's go back to that same game, same inning. Game 1 of the 2015 World Series in the 14th inning. Escobar scored an unearned run. They had 4 players come to the plate that inning, but only one actually recorded a hit. Do you know who the only player in the 14th inning, Game 1, World Series,
No, to actually get the hit?
to actually record a hit? Not to, because the winning run was a sacrifice fly.
All right, what?
I mean, I could have asked that too, but that's too easy for you.
I'm gonna guess it was Zobrist.
Well, who had the sacrifice fly?
Was it Hosmer?
Who was intentionally walked?
Kane?
Who was
pitching?
Who was in section 115?
Was it Cologne? Was it Bartolo? Was he the one pitching? Or that?
Who was in section 115, row 7, or excuse me, row C, seat 8?
Jason
So
Anderson.
you got me.
So it's wrong. Sorry, Andy. Good try, though. Good try. You had a lot of spirit. You brought some spirit to the show, but unfortunately you didn't know that John.
And that question's still out there for everybody else, actually. If you know who was in section 107, row 7, seat C, whatever.
Yes, Avery will put you on hold, thankfully, and Dylan will just say hi to you. So,
Super duper.
thank you, sir. Was it Hosmer? Must have been Kane.
Give us the exact defensive lineup
Was it Bart Colin?
the Royals were going up against in that inning. I need every single play. I need to know. I need your scorecard filled out by memory.
On what type of pitch did the sacrifice fly come from Eric Hosmer? That's what I should have gone with.
At least where in the zone was it?
Because
in the show.
Because I would have just said wrong to no matter what he said. So fastball, wrong. It was a changeup. Can you prove? Well, if you prove me wrong, that's fine. The show's ended anyway.
He would have had us. He would have had us like a pitching ninja style clip of that, like before the show was over.
Great, before pitching ninja. Yes. Let's go to John next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. John, Sports or Leisure. What side do you want to start with? Hello, John. Johnny. Jonathan. Are you at your tavern right now?
Is it Lil John? Ooh,
Is it
Johnny.
Big
Is
John?
this Johnny at Johnny's Tavern? What?
Blink twice if you're in Albuquerque.
Yeah. John.
Okay.
Hello, John. Jonathan.
Should we put John on hold?
Is it John? Is it another name that sounds like John? I can't think of another one. Is it Job?
It's Job.
Is there a Josh?
We will put you on hold, John, and we'll come back to you maybe. Let's go to Reagan next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Reagan, Sports or Leisure?
I'll start with sports.
All right. What category are you thinking?
Royals World Series.
Royals World Series. All right. Game 5 of the 2015 World Series. Game 5 of the 2015 World. There are some 14 World Series questions in here as well, but I'm just going down the line. Game 5 of the 2015 World Series. Who actually hit the ball to third on Hosmer's mad dash? Who actually grounded out to third on Hosmer's mad dash? 5-3-2 attempt at a double play. Just a good old-fashioned RBI.
Yep, I know Lucas Duda screwed up that throw.
He did. I appreciate him attempting a throw home. An attempt is what some would call it. I don't know. I mean, it was in the general direction of the catcher. God, the balls of Hosmer, because he was out with a good throw. He was out, but just the stones of that dude, man. You want to talking about an appendage. His arms were long for him to slide and be safe. Spags.
Was it Christian Colon?
It was not Christian Colon. Was not Christian Colon. He came up big, later on in the game in extras in the 12th inning, but not Christian Colon. Reagan, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-0810. Looking through here, and I'm glad there's not a Christian Cologne question. Well, actually, a Christian Cologne is the answer to the next question, so keep that in the back of your mind or the front of your mind. I don't know. Andrew, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB, a little sports or leisure. Andrew, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Oh, let's try the pun name game.
All right, let's. This former Chief is now a Bronco after being drafted by Kansas City. I'd rather watch this 2008 Coen Brothers film starring George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Frances McDormand.
George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Frances McDormand.
Name the first one. What was the first part of that again?
This former Chief is now a Bronco after being drafted by Kansas City. But I don't want to watch him play with the Broncos. I'd rather watch this 2008 Coen Brothers film starring George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Frances McDormand.
Coen Brothers with those three.
I could probably. I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit.
To think of the. I think I've got the player.
Oh, really?
And if I got the player, then I should get the second part. But I'm clearly not smart enough.
Oh, I think you're gonna. I don't want to give too. I like this one. I think this is a good, achievable one.
Really?
Yeah. We've talked about the Chief in question this week, I think.
Oh my.
Dylan got it.
See, the second one I didn't. So Dylan got it, and unfortunately for you, Andrew, he told us in our ears and not over the air.
Did you have the first part of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, I knew the first part. That's what I was saying. I couldn't figure out, and I've never seen this movie.
I also haven't, but I don't need to see it to use it in
out.
the name game. So
I'm just trying to think who would be drafted. Is he playing there now?
He is currently a Denver Bronco. Yes, sir.
He'll be on the field on Sunday.
Oh man.
Is that Google or?
That would have been
No,
the
it's
least
actually
subtle
not.
Google.
ATM, but
Oh, it's the ATM. Oh, well, if you're there,
multitasking.
You're gonna have to get $25 extra out if you don't get this question right before you hit it,
I
Johnny.
know.
I mean, if you're there. That's.
You got a hint for me?
Sounds like that was an.
He was a
8-4,
he was
3-9.
a recent Chiefs draft pick.
Yeah, he was pretty recent.
This isn't a situation they drafted somebody 10 years ago. He's made his way around to Denver now. This was
Denver is the second.
his
team.
second team. Yes, that's also true.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Scipio.
Bobby Scipio, brother, where art thou?
Oh my God!
That would have been amazing.
Oh my God!
That would have been amazing.
I can't think of what movie
God.
with those three people in it. So
We have to have a Bobby Scipio, brother, where art thou now?
Have to write
I mean,
that
you just
down.
have to write it down.
Hopefully people forget about it. That rules.
How can you forget about Bobby Scipio?
Welcome to
brother,
the
where
pun
art
name
thou?
game, Jason.
You want to throw a dart, Andrew?
John Fargo. I don't know. I got nothing.
Andrew, thank you for playing, and I really appreciate the John Fargo. 913-381-0810.
Bobby Scipio, brother, where art thou is an unbelievable poll.
All right, let's go to Greg next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB, a little sports or leisure. 913-381-0810. Greg, go right ahead, sir.
Hey, I'm going to start with sports because
Okay.
I remember that hit with Hosmer on third.
All right, who hit the ball down to third?
He smashed his bat in three pieces. It was Salvi.
It was Salvi.
Wow.
Salvi hits the ball down to third, and Hosmer says, "You know what? I'm pretty badass. So
He just went for it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable and aggressive. It was great. On to the leisure side with Josh.
I'm a decent speller, so let's try it.
All right, decent.
All right. Decent spelling has usually gotten people through the category with some success. I've learned that I'm not as good of a speller as I thought I was. But I'm going to try not to let that permeate my confidence. Your word is permeate.
Oh, I thought it was my.
Permeate.
That's a good one.
PERMEATE.
That's absolutely correct.
Nice job.
Yes.
That E or I right there after the M, like that was.
I know. I
it's
didn't.
like,
I didn't know for sure.
Yeah, you didn't even get language of origin to figure out if it was an E or an I. So,
oh man,
nice
I didn't
job.
know I had that option.
Of course.
You didn't.
Yeah, of course you do.
You did not.
Everything for Josh is Latin.
That's true.
Language of origin, Latin.
Hey guys, you're not going to believe this, but language of origin for permeate is Latin.
Well, yeah, because everything's Latin.
The prefix per, through via mere, so to mean pass or go. So permeare is to pass or go through, Latin, permeate in the mid-17th century. So there you go.
I think we should start getting more specific on language of origin. Ozarks.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Critter. Spell critter. Language of origin. Ozarks.
There's an apostrophe in there somewhere. You take out a vowel, drop it an apostrophe.
That's a winner, Greg, right?
That's a winner
Yeah.
indeed.
Absolutely. Well done, Greg. We'll put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations.
That's a business-like
All right, there you
in
go.
and out right there.
Well
Salvi, permeate, bang, Johnny's.
I don't know what happened to Greg, but Dylan's like, I can't talk to him.
Oh, we lost Greg?
Well, I don't think we lost him. Oh, he's talking to Dylan.
Okay, there we go. Good.
I don't think he lost him. He's probably somewhere
That's
out
all
there.
right.
Let's try. Should we try John again?
Sure.
John, sports or leisure? Welcome to the show. What side do you want to start with?
All right, let's give him a second.
I just wish there was like background noise.
Yeah,
or
so
something.
there was a couple of times a few
Yeah.
years back on post game. They were doing a late night post game show. And we had a caller who we potted him up, and there was snoring.
What
That was
game
amazing.
was that?
I think it might have been the Bills Sunday night game with the lightning delay.
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
It was not fun, and it was late as hell. But it was one of those prime time. And I think he called back many more times. I always enjoyed hearing from him.
Yeah.
But that was an
Was
iconic
it John?
moment. It was not John.
It wasn't this John.
No, it was not John.
Okay. Maybe he's using the John.
But it's been a while. I mean, I don't mean to rush anybody when they're handling their business. I
That's
think
true.
take the time you need. But
That is true. You never know what's going on.
But I do wonder if John's on mute, I think he would have figured it out by now.
He would have
If
the first
John-
go around.
If John fell asleep, I just would like to hear something.
We're going to move on from John, and we'll take a timeout. 913-381-0810 is the phone number to play a little sports or leisure.
His name's on the tavern, man.
913-381. Maybe it was just John at his tavern just wanted to listen in.
He just wanted to listen.
Just wanted to listen in. He's like,
that's what it was.
Am I up? Oh,
Ready to play.
Although that didn't sound like a phone on mute, though, right?
No, it didn't.
If a
You're
phone's
right.
on mute, it would just be like, there wouldn't be any sort of ambient...
I would think so. There's ghosts
That
in
sound in there.
the wires and stuff, though. I don't know where.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's all over the place. Spooky season.
Is it like Demi Moore and that ghost?
That's exactly right. Oh, maybe John has been interrupted by a specter.
Maybe he's making some clay with Patrick Swayze. Maybe there's some Unchained Melody being played right now in the background, and I wish we could have heard it. So that would have been great.
Unmute your phone, John. Let us hear.
913-381-0810. We'll take a timeout. We will come back. We'll continue rolling, playing some sports or leisure. It is presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 we're giving away for those that win some sports or leisure. More Zone coming up next. Well, NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is celebrating with an unbeatable offer. New customers can score $200 instantly. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We're playing a little Sports or Leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. 913-3810810 is the phone number to play for $25 at Johnny's Tavern. 913-3810810, the phone number. We'll go through the categories again for you. On the sports side, we've got tailor-made questions about athletes with the first or last name of Taylor. We have NFL questions. We also have specific Chiefs questions in the NFL category. Major League Baseball, and then Royals World Series questions. These are questions around either 80, 85, 2014, or 2015 in the World Series. Those are the categories on the sports side, 913-3810810, first in, first on. What about on the leisure side, Josh?
We've got What Could It IMDb TV. I'll give you a TV show summary. You tell me what the show is. The commonly misspelled words spelling bee. Horsing around. Questions about either real or fictional horses. And the pun name game with one of them still out there for the taking about a former Chief, now a Bronco, and a Coen Brothers movie.
Okay, there you go. That is those are the categories. We head back to the phone lines, 913-3810810. And we bring in Doug to the conversation, 913-3810810. Doug, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Well, if we start with the pun name game, so the Coburn after reading is available still?
It sure
Nice
is.
job. Well
it
done.
sure is indeed. Give him the ding.
Yep. Well
All right,
done.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, that's
Keandre Coburn after reading is what we were looking for.
I
Well
have
done.
never seen Burn After Reading, and you could have given me 100 guesses of something that started with Burn or Coburn, and I would not have come up with Burn After Reading because I just did not remember that movie.
And also,
in
it's
the
pretty
slightest.
easy to not remember seeing Keandre Coburn play for the Chiefs. So.
Well, that one I got. You know, I do that for a living.
Makes
I just
sense.
don't watch movies for a living. All right, on to the sports side, Doug. What category are you thinking?
All right. Let's go Royals World Series.
Royals World Series for you. Okay. Let's see. You want 14, 15, or maybe back in the day?
Well, I'm getting older, so probably don't want to have to go back memory-wise that far. So let's
Okay.
go 14, 15.
All right. Let's see. The 2015 World Series, among the players to play in all 5 games, only 2 of them hit over 300 for the series. Name either of the players, they had to have played in all 5 games, to hit over 300. Either of the 2 players.
Let's go 1980. Well, I want to say Zobrist and Kane.
You know, we were looking for either of the 2, and Doug, you went 0 for 2. Damn it!
Oh!
Had you gone 1 for 2, I might have been a little lenient, but it was neither Zobrist or Kane.
Wow.
And you know what? If I didn't look up the question last night, those would have probably been my first 2 guesses.
2 good guesses.
Is either Zobrist or Kane. So, Doug, hey, you know what? Not too bad. You know what you've done? You've helped somebody else out along the way that might have guessed Zobrist or Kane. So
Well, there
it's
you go. I'm
it's
glad
all
to
a
pass
community.
it forward.
See, there you go. Pay it forward. Nice job, Doug. Thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Play it forward. Can do that too.
Or burn after playing. Keandre Coburn after playing.
Or burn a 6th rounder.
I like that too.
So this question is out there available as well. 913-3810810. Let's go to leave Landon up next on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Landon, what side would you like to start with?
I'll do the spelling bee.
Ooh, okay. Your word is extraordinary.
So what's the word?
All right.
It's an extraordinary word.
Extraordinary?
It's extraordinary. I'm excited to hear it.
EXTRAORDINARY. Extraordinary.
You went right through the spot where you could have gotten tripped up.
Extraordinary.
That was excellent. Good job.
On to the sports side, sir. What category are you thinking, Landon?
I'll do an NFL question.
Just NFL question, not Chiefs specific, or just NFL?
Yeah.
Okay.
NFL.
NFL for you. All right, this is an NFL question, but it has to do with a Chiefs player. But Patrick Mahomes picked up his 49th game with a 100 passer rating in his career. Since 2017, it's the second most in the NFL. which quarterback the most games of a 100 passer rating or better, going back to when Patrick Mahomes entered the league. Now, it's a little skewed because Patrick Mahomes did not play that except for one game, where this guy has played a lot because he was in the league before 2017. But since 2017, this quarterback has 52 games of a quarterback rating of 100 or more. Mahomes has 49. And
Aaron Rodgers?
And I was going to say it is not. It is a current quarterback that is still playing. So I'll just tell you that. No, he was just guessing people that it's not it.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is a current quarterback who's on a roster.
Not playing. So. Not playing. This quarterback will play this weekend. Okay. Well, there's another hint because it's not Mac Jones or Josh Allen because they play tonight. But this quarterback will play this weekend.
Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen, just in case.
Oh yeah, what did I? I'm thinking
it's also it's not Mac Jones.
Yeah, because also Mac Jones beat the Bills last weekend, but I'm already thinking Patriots Dolphins. But yeah.
So this is someone since 2017 that has 52 games of 100 plus passer rating.
That is correct, and at one point it would have made sense, and now the quarterback, it's like, that's kind of funny. That's the quarterback he's behind.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's the quarterback.
Yep.
It's like, really? I mean, he could probably get closer this weekend. I doubt that the other quarterback will, pick up.
I don't know.
Many more
I don't think I know.
You want to throw a dart?
Name a quarterback who is in
actually
the league before
playing
Patrick Mahomes
and will play this weekend.
The only other one I could think of would be Kirk Cousins.
Not bad. Not bad. It is not Kirk Cousins, but that also isn't terrible. Landon, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-810. There was thought I saw a question that related to Kirk Cousins somewhere. It's not on my list here anywhere. But yeah, so that question is out there and available for someone to request if they know the answer to that one. But the hint we gave was at one point this might have made sense. Now, kind of, I guess laughable isn't, but just like surprising. Okay. Now, like, wow, that's pretty surprising.
Long time since 2017. A lot of football's happened.
Also, clearly he did a lot of the heavy lifting before last year and picking up these 52 games.
Yep.
Let's go to Colton next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Colton, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Hey guys, let's knock that Taylor out of the categories.
All right, Taylor made. Here we go. This former Notre Dame offensive lineman was drafted in the first round of the 94 NFL draft by the Packers. He started on the Packers Super Bowl teams, but his career was interrupted by knee injuries. Signed with the Chargers. Injuries eventually ended his career. You'd probably know him more for his work as a college football analyst on CBS Sports Network and some Westwood One coverage. He's also annually one of our favorite interviews at the Super Bowl Radio Row every year. He's so fun and energetic and willing and smart. Not because he went to Notre Dame. Anybody can go to Notre Dame. You don't have to be smart to go to Notre Dame. Name me one person that you know that's smart to went to Notre Dame, Josh.
I don't know anyone. I did talk to Taylor Heineke at the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Is it Taylor Heineke?
It's not Taylor Heineke.
Damn.
He did not go to Notre Dame. He also does not work for CBS Sports Network.
He also wasn't drafted in the early 90s?
Nope, it's just that he doesn't work for CBS Sports Network. That's the deal. I remember Taylor's in the name. CBS Sports Network. Offensive lineman. Aaron Taylor, nice job.
Bang.
It is Aaron Taylor. He is so good and so much fun at Super Bowl Radio Row. I look forward to it. And I get annoyed that it's like you got 10 minutes with him. Like, no, mark me down for 2 spots.
Yeah.
I'm being selfish.
He's going to talk to Jason Anderson and then James Anderson. Back to back.
Back to back. So we've got him scheduled for Sports Radio 810, and then we have him scheduled for...
he's got WHB after that, so we got to make this quick.
1510.
Yeah, that's right.
ESPN Kansas City is right after 810, so we're just going to... that'll be great. That's the sports side, right?
That's sports side.
All right, on to the leisure.
Let's rock some pun name game.
All right,
let's rock a punt name game. This flying, mischievous young boy has never had to grow up, as long as he doesn't have to escape this spooky maze directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Peter Pan's Labyrinth.
Peter Pan's Labyrinth!
Nice job.
That was the one that got the pun name game up and running again for me. I just went, Peter Pan's Labyrinth. All right, we're back, baby. We're cooking with gas.
That's what got you going?
That was what got me going.
Peter Pan and the Labyrinth gets you going?
Peter Pan's Labyrinth specifically really gets me going.
Wow. Colton will put you on hold, and you are going to Johnny's Tavern. Well done. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, guys. I love Lebo.
I mean, rightfully so, but
I feel like we got a new sign off.
Yeah, I feel like we do.
Let's go to Greg. Next up on Sports Radio 810, Sports or Leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern. Greg, what side do you want to start with, sports side or the leisure side?
Sports Royals, please.
Sports Royals, okay. More current or older, or the question that was out there?
Yeah, that question that was out there.
Very good. I'll ask it again in case somebody did not hear it, just in case you don't get it right. I think you will. But among the players to play in all 5 games in the 2015 World Series, only 2 of them hit over 300. I ask either of the 2, and just in case, Lorenzo Cain and also Ben Zobrist were guessed. They were both incorrect. So either of the 2 players to hit over 300.
All right. So I'm driving, so I haven't looked this up on my phone in the meantime. But I'm going to guess the MVP Salvi and Escobar.
You only needed one of them, and you got the MVP Salvi. And that was your first one, too. That was your first one. Salvi. Josh, do you know who was the other one to hit over 300 for the 2015 World Series?
No, we've said
so
a lot of
you've taken
reasonable...
Kane, you've taken Zobrist, you've taken Alcides.
I guess I'll take another obvious hack and say, did Alex Gordon do it?
It wasn't Alex Gordon.
I didn't think it was because I figured somebody else would have guessed by now.
You want to guess again? Greg, you want to throw a dart out there?
Dylan, do you want to guess? I feel like Dylan's going to know the answer.
Right fielder. I feel like he got hot in the World Series. The one that was just there for that 1 year. I can't even remember his name.
Wasn't Rios either.
Nope.
We're running out of positions here.
It's surprising, which is why we're coming up with the different names and not getting there, which is why it's like, wow, he quietly had that World Series.
How many? Sorry, I just went around the diamond there and thought, who have we not actually guessed? We've gone.
I think you guys are missing.
Sure.
You guys are missing.
Oh, we
2
asked
players.
Mousakis?
Moose.
It was Moose.
Hosmer and Moose were neither
wow.
one of them guessed. By the way,
really?
Nobody
I thought someone said Hosmer.
No,
Hosmer.
It was Kane and Zobrist. Moose and Salvi hit over 300 for the series in the World Series in those 5 games. So there you go. On to leisure with Josh.
Okay. Are there choices there or just just whatever?
Your categories here are what could it IMDb I did it wrong again. IMDb TV, where I'll give you the plot synopsis of a TV show. You tell me the name of the show. Or we have horsing around. We got the spelling bee, and we have the pun name game.
I guess that synopsis thing, please.
Okay. This is an anthology series in which police investigations unearth the personal and professional secrets of those involved, both within and outside the law.
Whew. Say it one more time, please. I'll guess quick.
No, you're all right.
Yeah, you're good.
I appreciate the sense of urgency. I really do.
It's great.
An anthology series in which police investigations unearth the personal and professional secrets of those involved, both within and outside the law.
Wow, that's complicated.
I will say anthology series is a big part of making sure it's not just one of the ones that's on CBS 24/7. This is a much more specific thing.
Has this already been named?
What's anthology series? What's that even mean?
Like a series of standalone seasons.
Yes. I would give you an example, but I don't know if the...
Oh, no, that's not the one,
Okay,
Jason.
so an example of an anthology series would be Fargo.
Okay.
Every year, Fargo has different characters.
A new cast.
New characters.
I think American Horror Story also does that. This is also not the answer.
I almost said another one that I don't want to...
That one's the one.
Okay,
I think Jason just got the one.
I almost said that one. Also, this would be...
Police investigations unearthing the personal and professional secrets of those involved. Maybe I've only seen the first one because after that, the casting wasn't as good and the show wasn't as good. And maybe it came back around a little bit.
So, hey, I got to say I got no idea, but thank you guys for helping me along.
Greg, thank you for playing,
I
man.
appreciate you bowing out with
it.
grace.
Yes, I appreciate it, Greg.
Bowing out with Greg.
But I mean, just I obviously Fargo wouldn't have been it because of the. But as soon as, you said it again, I'm like, oh wait, I know, because it's also sort of a meme that people have.
It is. It is. I don't feel like this is a super tricky, unfair one. That's where I'm at.
Not at all. Jeff.
Some of those are coming later in this
category. I think Jeff will wrap up our sports or leisure because by the time we take a break and come back, we won't have time. So, Jeff, final contestant here for sports or leisure to win $25 at Johnny's Tavern. What side do you want to start with?
I'll do sports. Let's do that. What's the passer? Will you do the passer rating one or whatever it was?
Oh, yeah. Patrick Mahomes picked up his 49th game with a 100 passer rating or better. Since he entered the league in 2017, it's the second most in that span. A quarterback has 52. Aaron Rodgers was guessed. That was incorrect. And did we have another guess at that point, or did they just bow out? Kirk Cousins. Yep, Kirk Cousins was guessed. The hint we gave was that at one point it would have made sense, but now it's pretty surprising, and he must have done a lot of heavy lifting before the last couple of years to get to 52.
There's two guys that have more than him.
There are two since 2017?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You have Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford.
Ooh. Well, we were thinking about Russ, right? That was where
Russ
we were at
is
with
the
Russ.
I figured that's what it was, but Stafford has like 73, I think.
Since 2017?
Well, since 2017, I don't know.
Yeah,
But-
so here's the thing. I got this specifically from the Chiefs game notes. The Chiefs post-game game notes said since Patrick... Hey, I thank them for emailing me after the game all these different trivia questions that they don't know are trivia questions. It's just facts about things that happened in that game that it's like, oh, hey, by the way, that was the 49th passer rating of 100 or more for Patrick Mahomes. Since he entered the league, it's the second most, only behind Russell Wilson. Well, thank you. There's a question for Thursday, Brad, and everybody else working there.
Cherry pick a leisure category for me.
That's right.
Ooh, what do we got left?
IMDb TV, the spelling bee, horsing around, the pun name game, and there is a IMDb one out there you may have just heard.
I can go spelling bee.
Your word is chaperone.
Chaperone.
Which you won't need if you go to John. You can go by yourself.
Chaperone.
Although if you do get a little crazy, maybe next time you'd need a chaperone. I used it in a sentence.
Fun stuff.
It is a difficult one, actually.
I've just had the same list. I've been chipping away at.
Yeah, I won't get that.
Man, that is a different. I'm with you.
Really?
I fancy myself a pretty decent speller too. That one.
You wanna throw a dart at it?
No.
All right, very good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it, man. 913-3810810 is the phone number for either Monday, as we will talk Chiefs,
or next week,
and next Thursday for Sports or Leisure. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up the show next. All right, thank you to Johnny's Tavern, sponsoring Sports or Leisure. $25 to Johnny's Tavern when we play Sports or Leisure. Any questions we did not get answers to? I believe all of mine were answered correctly. That is correct. What about for you, Josh?
My anthology series in which police investigations unearth the personal and professional secrets of those involved, both within and outside the law, is True Detective.
Yeah, I almost said True Detective when we were giving examples of What's an example of an anthology series? Well, like Fargo or True Detective.
Yeah, definitely could be one of those. A quarterback that could have had more higher quarterback rating more times than Mahomes could have been like Russell Wilson or Matt Stafford. Or.
And how do you spell chaperone?
Oh, would you like me to spell chaperone?
Spell chaperone.
Chaperone for chaperone.
My mind, for some reason, wants to take chaperone and mix it with chauffeur and throw in like a U and an A and an X for some chaperone. Let's be CHAPEREAUXNEIAY. Chaperone.
I think what we figured out is that, for all the talk of all the Latin that I know,
yeah, you do know
it's
a lot
really
of
the
Latin.
French-based words that start messing up with our brains.
That's
so
French.
I might have to bring some baguettes next week.
Nah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't need baguettes if you go to Johnny's Tavern to get a pizza.
No.
Like little baguettes is the crust. That's what I call. I call crust little baguettes.
Oh, isn't that the quarterback for the Bears?
Yeah, Tyson Baguette.
There you go. He's French.
That dough's been rising for him.
That
Can make some money.
A lot of it. Thanks, Josh. You
Thanks,
had a great
Jason.
show.
You had a great show.
No, I didn't.